No, it's not. Okay.
Guys,
That is.
so excited for life. All right.
Or of love it all.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Well, they're, I think it ended. Right, I think it's at least a year.
You guys ready now that I am? Hey everyone, welcome to the Persuasion Playbook. I do have to look it up. I do think this is my 301st presentation with Vistage. I share that because you're about to see how psychotic I am when it comes to all things persuasion. And this like just lights me up that Vistage has been a home for me. I've developed some of the greatest relationships in my life through this network. And every time I get to meet a new chair or one that I forgot I worked with before, it just really pumps me up. So thank you guys for having me out today. Quick question. Anybody care about the speaker's story, or is this the kind of group that likes to just get straight into the content? Okay, that guy, I love it. What's your name? I just see Bailey. Eric? Okay, cool. I do like to pick on people this group, so enjoy if you're not here for that. Just put it in your speaker survey that I picked on you too hard. It'll be fine. Okay, so that being said, I'll tell you a little bit about my story, how I got involved in this crazy world known as sales training. But let me ask you a question. All eyes closed. I do closed eye polls, so that way you don't have to look around the room to know how to answer. Raise your hand if you don't like sales. Totally fine. You can't offend me. If you don't like sales, raise your hand. Okay. Raise your hand if you're like the other spectrum where you go to timeshare presentations for fun. Okay. Okay. Now, last question. Raise your hand if you wish people on your team could appreciate and actually do sales. That's the missing link. Okay, cool. So all hands are up on that one. Cool. All right. You can open your eyes unless you wanted to take a nap. The story essentially starts in 2015. And I was actually at the Fort Worth stockyards with my family. We were having a lovely little day. I was riding on those little bulls and getting all the selfies on Instagram. Anybody have one of those moments in their life where like life is going really freaking well and you're just waiting for something bad to happen? Okay. Ta-da! Guess what? The story peaks. Right at that point, I had become a big biller in the world of recruiting, which is a really fancy term they used about a decade ago that says I was able to manage $1 million in marginable spread under my desk within a year. So basically, I was the person that you guys called and you would say, hey, Kaylin, here's my competitor. Go steal their employees and convince those employees to work for me, and I'll give you a cut of that revenue. And I was like, what could go wrong? And it was a really wonderful position for me. I absolutely loved it. By 22, I had bought my first house straight cash. It was so much fun. Everything was great. By 24, I was going on family vacations. And I was actually at that point where I could treat my mom and dad, which to me was a big life accomplishment. And just as you can see, life doesn't always go the way we planned, because by that next year, the year was 2016, and I had 37% lung function. And I had lost that career that I was so proud of. And I lost it due to something that you may have heard of or may not have heard of. The disease is known as cystic fibrosis. Raise your hand if you've heard of that one. Yeah, wow, okay, everybody. Love that for me. Makes it way easier. So this is a photo of my mom and dad when they were roughly 17 and 18. My dad wanted to get out of his small town in rural Iowa, and he did the most honorable thing I think you could do, which is join the military. And so my dad's a serviceman. He goes away for his deployment, and the staff sergeant calls him into his office and says, hey, Burdette, that's my dad's name. Hey, Burdette, did you know you will get an extra $35 a month if you're married? My dad, not having a lot of prospects, called up his high school girlfriend, Ann, there's the photo. She's 17. And he goes, hey, Ann, you want to get married? I get $35 extra a month. So just to give you an idea of how psychotic I am, this was my mom's response. Can I get 20 of it? Jack and Jill went up the hill, each with $1.25, and Jill came down with $2.50. And so I share that because they've been happily married for 46 years. And what's really great is dad comes home from the military. You can imagine what happens. And 9 months later, I'm being airlifted to the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics. The diagnosis finally comes. And at the time, it was in 1987, so I'm 38, spoiler alert, I'm 38, and the doctors back then didn't really know what CF was. And so they had a lot of really great ideas on how to treat it. They just simply knew that my lungs will get full of a very thick, sticky mucus that I can't cough out. And so the doctor's advice is very simple. Sales, by the way, 101, just ask more questions. You're going to be fine. It's so important that even though we didn't collaborate on that, you guys have that in a quote on your Vistage sheet right now. So if you look, there's something, somebody took the one that was here. Can you read that quote at the top above topic? Amen to that. Way to kick off a sales training seminar. And so that's what my parents did. They just asked a bajillion questions. Hey, what's this mean for our little girl? And the doctor said, well, because of all the mucus that's going to be in her lungs, that's going to be infected, the best form of treatment right now is to just physically beat on your daughter's lungs for 3 to 4 hours a day. The more you beat on her lungs, the more likely her body will naturally loosen that mucus and she can cough it up and out. They said, but every now and again, these infections are going to be even more difficult than just beating on her lungs and forcing her to cough won't get it out. So bring her into the hospital. We'll hook her up to an IV antibiotic for roughly 24 hours a day, 2 weeks at a time. What this will do is this will get rid of all of the bad bacteria in her body. But be aware, when she gets older, she might lose sensation from time to time in her fingers and her toes, and she might even start to slur her words. All this means is that we gave her too many antibiotics, so go ahead, stop them and scale them back. Let me ask you, what happens when you start an antibiotic to stop it, to then start it, to then stop it? Yeah, resistance. And they said, Mr. and Mrs. Burdett-Ellsworth, right, there's only 5 antibiotics known to treat her specific strain. And one by one, she's going to develop resistance to every single one of them until eventually she suffocates from the inside out. They said, you can do everything right, but as of now, there are no other treatments outside of this. And the oldest person we've ever been able to personally treat at this clinic has made it to 7 years old. So my parents asked another question. Well, is there anything else we can do? And the doctors are very clear. Most parents just simply find it easier to have a backup child. And that's the romantic story of how my brother was born. So I share all of this because there's always a spectrum in Vistage meetings where I've got 30% of the room, or if you brought your keys, there's 30% of the room, millennials and Gen Zers. I love y'all, but I got to pick on you. Y'all hate sales and you think I'm like a demon. And then we've got the CEOs and the people who know sales, and they believe it is the lifeblood of an organization. So I share a little bit about my story because it is nothing more than a story about how to sell. The only reason I'm alive today, outside of understanding how to build rapport so I get the good nurses, and then figuring out pharmaceutical pricing, insurance companies, anybody had to navigate the healthcare system? That is just one giant colossal sale. So at 2016, when I was down to 37% lung function, the disease had 1. There's no better way to word this. I remember it very clearly. The doctor leaves the ER that night and he says, you've had a good run. Can we just pause? What ironic choice of words. You've had a good run. Like, can you run at 37% lung function? Maybe y'all can, but I could not. You've had a good run. And you know it's bad when they say and instead of but. And this is end stage. So I legally lost everything and I had to file for Social Security disability. So thank you all for your tax dollars, assuming you didn't cheat on your taxes at all. And so I legally filed for Social Security disability. And if it was a country music song, this is where the truck wouldn't start, the boyfriend would have left me, and the dog would have died, like all in that pivotal moment. The sale of it, though, is there's a pharmaceutical drug coming to the market priced at the highly affordable rate of $329,000 a year. This is one of 70 medications. Quick, if you're legally disabled, is your insurance any good? If you had just lost everything, do you happen to have $329,000 for one of 70 medications, not including hospitalizations? Was I funny enough to qualify for something called compassionate use, which is where the government essentially just gives you hush money and tells you to shut up and take the drug and you'll be fine? It's a lot of what Steve Jobs had when he was going through pancreatic cancers. These pharmaceutical companies realized, hey, we need to be able to give him some of the treatments because his life is valuable. And I don't mean any knock on myself. Trust me, I'm pretty confident as a woman. But there was nobody about to give me a drug because I just didn't provide enough value in the world. That's just straight up how it is. So then the question becomes, okay, is there anything you can do? And the only thing I've known my entire life is how to sell. When you are at the end stage or a giant transitionary period, maybe you're trying to sell your company, maybe you had just gotten laid off, or maybe you're starting brand new in a new city, new town, new state, the biggest thing you can do is get your mind wrapped around this principle that there is no certainty. And when you're end stage, I remember walking the halls of the hospital and I was just looking for anything I could find that would teach me how to go from uncertain to certain. And there was one thing I saw. And I'm not pushing any belief system on you. This is my perspective. You can take it or leave it, whatever works for you. But I came across the serenity prayer. Here's the parts to pay attention to. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Can I change my health? No. There's a whole concept I'll talk about a lot today called delivering the dream. First and foremost, you've got to figure out what your own dream is. Second of all, you've got to figure out what the dream of your employees is. Third, you've got to figure out the dream of the clients or the people you're trying to sell to. You know the dream and the rest will fill it. And so for me, the dream was pretty simple. I don't know if you guys are aware, but living's pretty awesome, isn't it? So much freaking fun. And so the dream was that simple, just to live. And so what I had essentially done is I created a cold calling, cold outreach system, and I targeted 4 different quadrants of leads to win exposure to find a solution to getting this pharmaceutical drug. I used, now it's an illegal scraping software, Hunter.io. It sometimes pops up, it sometimes doesn't. By the way, write that down if you're doing cold outreach at any point. It's really great with finding information. And I did biotech, pharmaceutical companies, public relations firms, and media companies. Well, if you know anything about marketing, you know that the best marketing has something called a hook. A hook is a really compelling line that creates buy-in for somebody who otherwise wouldn't know you. And better the hook, the more visual it is. And so I knew this from my hospital room. I needed to target all of those companies. I scraped somewhere around 40,000 email addresses and did a cold outreach program to all 4 of those subsets with this video attached. It was essentially my feet on my hospital bed, my hands on the floor of my hospital room. I put a nasal cannula in, not for dramatic effect, but because if you've ever laid down with a cold, you know your lungs take off pretty quickly. And if you've ever worn a nasal cannula, not a vibe, don't recommend it. But snot the first 20 minutes, just like, and I was in that position and I looked at the camera and the camera looked at me and I looked at the camera and I said, give me 1 shot. And I did a push-up, which essentially forced my lungs into a really beautiful, it would have been a great Tinder profile photo, just like coughing and phlegm. And like, you can literally watch somebody suffocate to death. Then I thought, that's pretty gross. I need a hashtag. Hashtag don't kill Klyn. It's got a good ring to it, doesn't it? Like some of you are like, okay, this is freaking weird. Others are like, where's this going? Let me tell you, I'm glad you asked. Hashtag don't kill Klyn was born. And I started having friends all over the cystic fibrosis community posting this video. Somewhere got like 1.2 million hits or something crazy like this back 10 years ago. The reason this is important is because then I get a phone call. How many of you guys know if you just do more cold outreach, eventually it's a numbers game until you figure out the system. That's the difference in business today. All of these sales trainers will tell you it's a numbers game. No, it's a numbers game when you don't know what the heck you're doing. But when you figure out what you're doing, then you systematize it, which is why a lot of companies think that cold outreach takes forever to do. It doesn't. You hit payday, you hit payday once, and then you just copy that one thing you did. And so that's essentially what I did until lo and behold, I got on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. Who knew? They wanted to fly out right away, but the Pope kept coming to town, so that kept ruining my my experience here. And by the time Emmy award-winning, 3-time Emmy award-winning news correspondent Ann Thompson showed up, we refilmed that video, put it on national news, and a pharmaceutical drug priced at $329,000 a year. Showed up as hush money for free for the rest of my life, halting the progression. And then if you found something that works in sales, well, what did I just say to do? Do it again. Put your own oxygen mask on first, then help others. So now that program is known as GHPP. And in the state of California anyways, anybody with cystic fibrosis can qualify for that drug at no cost. California is now the longest life expectancy of anywhere in the world with cystic fibrosis at 56.4 years. I share that for a couple of key points. Number one, that was when I legally started my business, was in 2019 when I eradicated cystic fibrosis in my body. I took one of those ancestry DNA tests about a year and a half ago. There's no signs of CF in my system anymore. So I'm totally fine. Chances are I work out so freaking much. I average 13,000 steps a day. I've been able to compete in a dance competition. I did hike the world's craziest 5K in Seward, Alaska. Super fun. I say all this because when I started my business in 2019, I really think that God was just prepping me for what I was about to do, because after 75 hospitalizations, or just over 13 years of my life, I now spend more time in airports than I did hospitals. And the ironic thing is there's actually very, very little difference. The only difference that I can find is that bagels are $12, whereas in hospitals, they give them to me for free. So things are always changing. What can we control? When I started chatting with Vistage chairs and then starting to build my book of business on the Vistage network, I realized that most firms are struggling in one of these 4 quadrants. And what's funny is these 4 quadrants are all controllable. But psychologically, we start to think that we can't get past something because we've hit a couple of roadblocks. So here's the good and the bad of this presentation. The good is that I know how short our lives are. Anybody ever go to a seminar or conference or leave a Vistage meeting and feel like they got absolutely nothing out of it and it was a waste of their time? I freaking hate it. That's why it's also the bad, because I get highly tactical. It's going to be better for all of us if we don't think of me as a speaker today, and we just think of me as we got 3 hours of insane sales consulting. So we'll roll up our sleeves, we'll share actual things that we're experiencing. I will give my best advice for 3 hours, and my goal is to make it incredibly applicable for all of you. However, the problem is, you guys all work for the same company? Y'all have different business models? Y'all have different ICPs? How the heck am I going to get tactical with that much information? Well, I'm so glad you asked. I solved that problem already. Here's what we're going to do. Attached to this right here is something called a heat map. And everyone say, ooh. Ah. I'm going to pass these out. Fill it out for me. Here's the thing about the bottom thing. I will share my business model very briefly because this little fill out thing freaks people out for some reason. You don't have to fill it out. That's totally fine. If you do, in about 6 months, when I get caught up with my existing book of business, I might reach out and see what you've been able to implement. If you're like, nope, I have no idea. I know I need to talk to her right away. This is my calendar. Here's the business model, super fast. I am freelance. I don't have employees. How many of you guys do? Are they ever stressful? I've been through enough stress in my life. I don't want that game. I outsource like graphic designs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the business model. I give away more for free than I found any other speaker in the Vistage network does. That is simply because I want my reputation to succeed anything else I have going on. So if I give you unlimited free consulting, there's going to be a chance you're sitting in a Vistage room and you're like, you need to talk to Klyn. That's why I do this. These are the 4 things that I do better than I can find anybody else doing it. And this is where we will spend the entire workshop today. Whoever checks the most amount of these boxes, I will spend the most time in this presentation with addressing these concerns from a very tactical standpoint. So I'm going to pass these around. Please fill them out. This is how we'll build our workshop today. You guys beat me to it. Hold on, I said I'll pass them and then I gave you. That's funny. If you want to write it in too, if there's something that's not on your heat map, feel free to write it in. Would have enough for everybody because there's 15. If there's extras, I'll come down and grab it. I need 10. I have extra pens.
There should have been some that.
It's a good one. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
What? You're grateful.
And if you're done, you just want to wave it up in the air, I'll come grab it so I can start doing tallies.
Thought about it.
We've got a lot of leads.
It's more, I think, than mine.
Which is-
Marketing issues, but. So,
You do-
service
nursing?
company have challenges.
That was exactly what it was. I was recruiting nurses. Yeah, that's funny.
Want a job later?
What's that?
They're asking you want a
Yeah.
job.
I'll give you some really, nurses, pharmacists, prior auth, that was the world that I had big biller in. So I'll give you some really like, don't do this, but try it type stuff today. And everyone else will look at me like I'm freaking nuts, but you're gonna be like, that's genius. So I can't wait for this. Thank you. You guys are so polite, standing up and handing me your forms. Thank you, thank you. Okay, cool. So in business, there's really 4 levers, at least that I think I'm qualified to speak on. You've already found out what the 4 levers are. Get leads, recruit winners, make sales, build systems. Every business, it's a little different where you start, but the concept is the same. So as I'm looking at your heat maps, I think it could be really interesting to start with the sales side of it. And then through that, I will randomly insert some of the recruiting stuff. What was, again, Eric? Okay, I keep wanting to say Bailey, so forgive me. And then a ton of you guys talked about getting leads. So let's do this. First off, any questions you want to ask directly that you did not get in your forms? Okay, you're like, no, stop asking us questions, just speak. Okay, got it. Check.
I have a question.
Yeah, please, Kyle.
Well, is
I love
my
it.
team is English is their second language and they're doing business in a different country. And so we have a hard time sometimes between our staff here and staff there because culturally it's so different. That's
For
what
sure.
we struggle with.
What's
So-
the other country?
China.
China, okay.
So sometimes the things they say aren't what they need.
Okay.
And they do not take well to like aggressive conversation.
Thank God. Okay, good. Because if they did, I'm the wrong speaker for y'all. Like, you can't tell them like, hi, I'm a sales trainer. Like, shut up. Why are you guys doing that? Also, why are all the sales trainers jacked? Like, have you guys noticed this? They're all like, if you don't have abs, you're not going to make money. Shut up. I know more billionaires without abs than I do with. Like, you just cancel. You're talking about the discipline, which is the mindset, not the point. Okay, so I love that you're bringing this up, Kyle. Let's address it first and foremost. There are 3 styles of selling. Here's the problem with what I notice everybody else talks about. So stupid. Let's just test some stuff while we talk about it. Raise your hand if the way you buy things today is not the same way as how you bought things 10 years ago. Okay. Raise your hand if you like certain things about sales, such as pretend I'm the salesperson, I'm trying to sell you all something right now. Raise your hand if you want me to ask you for the sale. Exactly. Raise your hand if you want me to push you. Raise your hand if you want me to overcome your objections by asking you 2 to 3 more questions. Raise your hand if you want me to ask you relentlessly about the problems you're in, so that way I can find a bigger problem than when we started this phone call. We don't buy like that. Traditional sales trainers and consultants, they run into a room and like this, and they will say the following. In order to increase your sales, you need to do a few key things. Number one, you need to find anyone know the answer to this? You need to find the right, oh, that's even better, Daryl. Gold star for you. Anybody buy stickers in the beginning of the year and then, or buy a planner in the beginning of the year and then stop filling it out about February and give up on it? So I did that last year and I thought it was a great idea. What I was missing was clearly making my planner beautiful with stickers. So I bought a bunch of like days of the month stickers, and because I gave up on my planet, now I just pass them out as like good gifts for you guys. So you get a sweet Christmas sticker for saying finding the right customer. We do compete over stickers for a prize at the end, by the way. All right, check this out. Find the right customer. When you're talking to the right customer, what's the first thing sales trainers say? You got to find starts with a P. Find the problem, and then ask them how many questions about the problem? As many as it takes to get them into pain. And then the moment you find the pain, you have to build the what? Build the gap to present the solution. All right. If I was trying to sell any of you anything today, and I said, just find the pain and fill the gap, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you something probably called spin selling. What's your situation? What problem is that causing? What are all the implications of the problem? And I'm going to relate Daryl's business problem back to his love life, back to why his kids are sometimes upset with him. So he has no choice to do anything other than to what? Hire me to get him out of the problem. You guys ever talk to somebody my age or younger? Do they want to talk about their problems and open up on a Zoom call? So if you're selling to millennials and Gen Z buyers, solving the problem isn't going to do crap for your sales. The other interesting thing, and this is why I'm tying this back into your situation with China. When you go about sales in that way, you actually increase something called cognitive bias. The moment your prospect feels, because you're not competing with the other companies, you're not competing with any of that crap in the business climate today. The second you trigger, I'm a salesperson in your prospect's mind, their bias goes up and their attention to detail and logical decision-making goes down. Here's how to check this. Just make sure it's true for you, not what even I say. Anybody madly in love with their spouse in this room? Okay, good. There's a trick question. One of you guys was like, fine, I'll say yes. So not that person's supposed to answer this. When you're madly in love with your spouse, I don't know. Does your spouse ever do something that just like pisses you off? And in that moment where they piss you off, are you thinking about all the reasons you love your little schnookums? No, you're thinking about what they did wrong last Tuesday. And here's the funny thing, women, we're better at this than men because we've got a case against you before you even walk in the door and like, good luck, buddy. So I say this because the second you trigger that bias in your prospect, they're not thinking of you versus your competitor. Guess what they're thinking of? You versus every other salesperson that's ever ripped them. So because we buy differently, a lot of the tactics that are American-led as far as the pressure situation, they backfire very, very quickly in today's marketplace. And that's probably, I'm going to guess, what your Chinese employees might be facing. The only reason I can speak from experience in this is I have advised the United States Postal Service, their international shipping department, for the Chinese salespeople trying to work through some of the tariffs and the moving around and how to word things differently. So what you're looking for, Kyle, is something called psychological drivers. Go ahead, everybody write that down. Psychological drivers. If you guys want, tell me at the end or just speak up now. I'll email you 52 phrases that convert like crazy, that are not pushy, sleazy, spammy, or scammy, to get around how to word things, because the reality is how we word things is how emotionally the other person perceives it. So when you go to ask for the sale or you go to do all of these traditional things, the wording doesn't trigger that bias. So is that a tool you guys want me to email you later? Okay, anybody like, nah, I don't want it? Okay, cool. I'll hook you guys up with that. Okay, so a lot of things, there's 3 styles of selling, and unfortunately 2 of them have propagated our culture. And the problem with a lot of it is once we start thinking of the different styles of selling, we get trapped into this minutia. So the golden rule is what?
Being the others as you want done than you.
No, it's he who has the gold rules. You're right, though. I'll give you a sticker for that. And then what's the platinum rule? Anybody know?
You want them as they want to be done?
Yeah, as they want to do. So let's talk about that for a minute. There are 3 primary styles of selling. And with these styles of selling, we have to take into account how other people want to be treated. It says Christmas Day. That's not going to confuse you later when you look back at your business promise. Okay, so the platinum rule, treat others how they want to be doing. Okay. Super fast on this part because it might be too much minutia for you. In our culture and around the 50s and 60s, the predominant style of selling was pressure selling. Sales, technically, you could go as far back in time as the oldest profession, ha ha ha. But also it actually started in these town squares in like 1700s, and the people would go into the town square for the marketplace, and you'd have all of your different trade shows and booths. So think conference, except without electricity and running water and all the great modern conveniences. And people would just be shouting at the top of their lungs to try to get people into their booths so they could sell them their apples and widgets and bananas or whatever it is that they sold, right? And so then there was these ships that they would come to the harbor and they would dock at the harbor. And back then soap was in giant crates and pellets. And so what one of these people did at this one interesting time is they grabbed one of these giant soap crates, they brought it off to one of the commoners, they started selling it from their trade show booths, and they're like, well, what do we do with this empty crate? And a politician got involved and said, I'm going to put the soapbox down, stand on the soapbox, so I have more authority over the room, and that way I can convert the people to my political party. So one of the first documented standing on your soapbox, that's where it came from. And then the pastors saw it and they were like, we can do this for churches too. And it was baller because then people started wanting to go into the churches because the only 2 people who were allowed to stand on their soapbox were the politicians and the pastors. What the heck does this have to do with all of us? When we're all competing for the same certain customer segment, the only thing that old school sales trainers say worked is to apply simply pressure. Things like asking for the sale, overcoming the objections, finding the pain and building, all the crap that really does not work anymore. And so pressure styling became the very first way, at least documented as far back in the 1940s and 50s in a lot of the texts, of how to sell. Now, do any of us like to be put in pressure in a sales conversation? Why the heck are we still teaching it? Interestingly enough, the more pressure we exert in our conversations now, the more likely the prospect is not only going to run the other way, but what else would the prospect do if they get pressure now? Kyle, you and I are in a business conversation. I'm trying to sell you on my widgets, and I put a lot of pressure. I need a decision by tomorrow, or else the price is going to what? It's not going to go up. Let me explain something to you. If you call them back in 48 hours and you're like, I changed my mind, can I do it? They're going to be like, well, it's 15% extra today. No, stop it. Why are we playing this game? So it's called a scarcity technique. That does not work anymore. If I put too much pressure on you, Kyle, to talk to your team and sign up for my online courses, you going to email me back and tell me your decision?
Yeah, right now.
He ain't even going to bother to email me. Why? Because you don't want to get stuck in a conversation about why you didn't go with it. You know why you didn't go with it? Because I sucked. Like, it's not your point. It's not your product. So when we exert pressure, the culture started to change, and a bunch of smart people, probably in a conference room like this, got together and they're like, well, if we're getting ghosted a lot or our customers aren't responding, which, by the way, this is a asterisk for all of you. How many of you guys, when you're looking through your database, that your prospects have been ghosting you? If they have, and you have an unreasonable ghost rate after a demo or proposal or however your business does, just know you're probably exerting pressure. And you're like, oh no, my salespeople don't exert pressure. It is so subtle now. Everything is in the nuance. We are no longer playing a game of long throw touchdown passes. Is that even what it's called? No, I don't know. We're playing a game of inches. Sales strategy is won in little microscopic moments now. So a bunch of smart people got in a room and they're like, well, we can't pressure people anymore because not people are responding and people don't like to buy from pressure. What else are we going to do? What else are we going to do? What else are we going to do? And then some brainiac was like, I got it. Let's just pitch slap them. That's what happened next. The pitch was born. And the pitch started out with good intentions, because here's the logic. If I give you a good pitch, can't you guys make your own informed decisions and I don't have to exert the pressure? Anybody been on a call with somebody and there was a legitimate great pitch? It was great. Did you buy the product? Maybe. All right. So that proves it. And so because pitching then became the predominant, unfortunately, many of us, how many of you guys have had to sit through a bad pitch? Did you guys catch the different emotional vibe that happened? I just asked if anybody sat through a good pitch and you're like, think so. What about a bad pitch? Yeah, we remember the bad pitches. So the second somebody feels like they're being pitched, what happens to that cognitive bias, just like we talked about? So you can't exert pressure, you cannot pitch. You can spot a pitch a mile away because it usually happens within the first couple of minutes of a call and the other person didn't even ask for it. So it tells me there's got to be a new way of selling, which is also the new way of buying that I've been observing. 10 years ago, if I went into one of my clients' offices and I said, hey, real quickly, how many of you guys have a traditional sales force? How many rooms or hands would you think would go up? Almost everybody had a traditional sales force 10 years ago. Just the fact that we have, well, let me ask you, did you guys have a traditional sales force?
Yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
one,
Dude,
two people. The rest of you are probably using what I call technical experts. So these are the people who are dominant in their field. You might have even had, and I don't know for you, Eric, but nurses who also have to grow their book of business. CPAs who also have to grow their book of business, attorneys who also have to grow their book of business, subcontractors, estimators, regular contractors and construction crew, project managers who also have to grow their book of business. Because I'm noticing a lot of companies nowadays, when they go out and they start to think, okay, I really want to scale, which is our favorite buzzword of the century here. If we really, really want to scale, thanks for Furnish, by the way. If we really do want to scale, we need a sales team. But how many of you guys are looking at your sales team, or if you've ever worked with one, you're thinking they're just a bunch of ADHD squirrels running around and you do not have the patience to manage that. Additionally, when you recruit, aren't you looking for people who have technical expertise and know-how? And in the back of your minds, isn't some of you thinking, well, if I could only just teach my technical expert how to persuade, my company would grow a lot bigger and I wouldn't have as big of a liability as worrying about a sales team. So because of that, that tells me that fundamentally the way we approach sales conversations and the way we train our teams has to have changed. And I'll give you a 6-step framework that you can just copy the entire thing and teach it to your teams at the end of the day. I call it the impact communication model. Why do we think I call it the impact communication model? Knowing what we know about technical experts. Anybody in here have a technical expert team that wants to learn how to sell? We call it impact communication. CEOs all know I'm talking about sales, but frontline technical experts are teaching us how to communicate so we can make a bigger impact, which they all love. We don't even call it sales training past this moment in the workshops. Because if I call it sales training, what happens to the cognitive bias of your technical expert? Bam. Kyle, you're crushing it with the stickers. So first and foremost, let's figure out the 3 different personality of sales. And then this will help us tie it all the way back to the platinum world, tie it all the way back to what Kyle brought up about doing multicultural. Here's what we'll do for this part. Takes about 6 minutes. I'm going to put a QR code in the block behind me. Put in your real email address. Here's why. Number 1, I'm not going to spam you. I have enough book of business. I'm freelance. I pick who I want to work with when I want to work with it. And because I'm roughly 1/3 the price of anyone else in Vistage, because I don't have a team, I like having that power. So I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to try to upsell you, but I will have your information only so I can send you a 2-page complimentary PDF on your results. The other thing, if any of you guys also do this assessment as part of your business model, please don't be offended because I'm bootlegging this off of a Vistage chair that I love dearly. And he's like, oh yeah, you can use this in some of your workshops. Last year, I ran 3,500 people through it, and I'm expecting a bill any day or to be canceled. That has not happened yet. So we're going to totally take advantage of this until Brad Cousins out of Little Rock, Arkansas says, hey, Blondie, knock it off. In 6 minutes, I will break down your sales style. So go ahead, scan this QR code. You should see a purple background, Does anybody see their purple background yet?
Yes.
Okay, can you show me what you, okay.
Lisa.
Lisa, can you show everyone what the purple background looks like? You got it perfect as well. Every now and again, someone gets a weird one, so that's why I'm making a big deal of that. And then once you put in your information, just flip your phone to the side. It'll take about 6 minutes to complete this. Did you want to look at these and take photos? I'll take the forms with me, but sometimes chairs like to go through that for their one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Just so you can follow up with them. And also, if you want to flip your phone to the side, it might make it less annoying for you. Same thing with you, Eric.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Just get a name.
Yeah, if they don't want to put in the name, I don't pressure it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what they usually do is they'll bring that into their one-on-one.
Mhm.
Just ask.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and when you're done, if you want to go on break or use the restroom, feel free to. You want to write this?
You want to message.
Oh, I've done this before, so I just entered my name before something. We actually subscribe to the predictive index, so we use it within our company.
Awesome.
Yeah.
James, if you want to write this down, we'll take a photo. Nothing. I'll email it to you too, so, or if you already have it. Then sure.
Thank you.
I've done PI quite a bit, and if I take the full one, I've taken a couple times, I'm always in the capital. But. Just,
I'll explain that. What's spicy, basically,
thanks for the
yeah,
gift.
I'll explain.
It's a healthy
And I
slash.
Wow.
Fun. Just- That's what I've heard. It's funny, I said, to all the CE groups and all the different things, like one, I think Eric said his wife took pictures. And stuff like that. And somebody says, oh, healthy. I expected wine or something. At least you could figure out what you like and go, hey, I'd like a little more of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I don't know less, because right now it's on margin, which is why I can negotiate I have.
Need to get our dinner schedule when I get back.
Yeah.
Is February gonna be more open?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. He's next.
Yeah. I'll be out too, but we come back on February.
So I don't use so much for really confirm that of you. Basically.
Oh, really? Is that nerve wracking or?
Never done it before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say that, yeah.
I said, oh, you're the president of the association, so you should do it.
Oh, man,
It's fine, it'll be fine.
yeah. Yeah, those things can be, you want it to be impactful, but you know, is anybody listening out there?
They listen, they do it.
Yeah,
People in a message room right now, please just don't call me with. Okay, I just like that. I don't know what you're going through.
Proud to be.
I'm no longer an artisan,
Was that?
I'm no longer an artisan now, I'm a collaborator.
Well, that makes sense.
see, you're developing.
They're related. It's not like you went to like a lab.
That's right. That's our next stage.
Evolution of Lisa.
Exactly.
Anybody need to use the restroom or anything, or should I just keep going with it?
I think we're.
Okay, I'm notoriously ridiculous with remembering breaks. So you guys seem pretty chill. If you need to break, just leave. That's fine. I won't call a formal one unless I notice that in the room. Eric, you want to write down guardian for now? And then I'll make a note. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay. Okay, we'll get into it, and then when James comes back. So everyone check out the quote about, or is everyone done? I apologize. No, I'm gonna wait another minute. I apologize.
So it's CF is lung transplant and the function thing or something.
I opted out.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it's my time to go, like, I'm not putting my parents through that.
But that is an option.
It is, yeah, and it's a very common option,
What is?
a lung transplant. But you're trading one disease for another, and I'm like, I don't give it to someone else. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, there's so few organ donations out there that, like, I didn't want to be that person who takes it. So. Okay. Everyone's done, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I got really distracted on that. Then my apologies. Okay, so everyone take a look at this quote up here. The first part is by Albert Einstein. I figured he had a little more authority than me. And it just simply says, you can't judge a fish by its inability to climb a tree. I used to live in San Diego, Little Italy, but I just bought a house in Nashville. And I was presenting in Nashville, which is so country compared to where I'm from. And right as I said, you can't judge a fish by its inability to climb a tree, somebody fact checked me and said, well, you can if it's a mud skipper. Okay, country boy, what's a mud skipper? Apparently it's a gelatinous fish that climbs trees.
Oh.
What's the point? All right. What you just took is a 6-minute assessment. I do believe it's a powerful assessment, and I do recommend this one over some of the other ones I've seen, specifically OMG. Not that there's anything wrong with that assessment for analyzing salespeople, but they believe in old school sales tactics such as sell the pain and build the gap. And then they rate your ability to do that. Well, if you don't believe in that concept, then that assessment is essentially not going to work for you. So the reason I love predictive index, number one, it's 6 minutes. Number two, I take complete and total creative liberty over the assessment results. So Daryl, because you and Lisa are pretty familiar with this, you can just test this to see if it's true. Because this is where Kaylin science takes over and regular science just ends completely. So if it does not fit for you at any point today, you're a mud skipper, it's going to be okay. Talk to Daryl, he's the expert. Okay, we good? All right, let's do this. How many of you guys were always taught that there are hunters and farmers in sales? What's a hunter do, Eric?
Go out, kill.
Kill, murder, get the business. All right. What do farmers do? Explain upselling and cross-selling to me then. Explain getting referrals to me then. Explain affiliate partnerships and cross collaborations then. Dang it, hunters and farmers no longer work. So I came up with something totally different. Bunnies, tigers, and dogs. But it's really obnoxious if I call one of you guys to your face a dog. So we're going to call it retrievers, but I mean dog. Because how many of you guys love dogs? But if I'm like, hey, Kyle, you're a dog. You're like, wow, that's a 0 on the speaker feedback survey, which has happened. So now I call it retrievers. By the way, this is the year, because you guys did not ask, so I'm going to tell you, this is the year I get a little dog. I lost one in a divorce about 2 years ago. Super sad. I've missed my little gremlin. And so I've been fantasizing a lot about my dog. And here's what I know. It's going to be 2.5 pounds, teeny, teeny, tiny, fully grown. So if I ever get stuck in coach, it's going to be in the airline seat behind me and it'll fit perfectly. And I finally came up with the name for the dog. You guys ready? Just going to test it. EBITDA. Here's why this is the greatest name for a dog, because if you're ever out with a 2.5 pound dog, you'll notice a lot of people you don't want to talk to come up and they try to pet your dog and get to know you as a human. And if I tell them the dog's name is EBITDA and they don't understand what I'm talking about, I don't have to waste my time talking to them because they're not my people. So it becomes a prospecting tool in addition to that. So for those of you who get the newsletter, you'll get a monthly update on when I'm getting EBITDA. Plus the puns are great. Like EBITDA took a crap. EBITDA is so small. EBITDA is growing. EBITDA is terrorizing my life. Like it's just great. Okay, so not the point. Focus. Retrievers. Retrievers in the sales world. Platinum rule, treat others how they want to be treated. Also change your languaging based on who you're talking to. There's 3 archetypes for selling to people. Here's the thing, if you know you have a retriever. They're technical experts in their craft. These can be wealth advisors. These can be attorneys, your subcontractors, your CPAs. Retrievers are typically also what I call legacy employees because they're super loyal. If you follow the trajectory of their career path, haven't they always about picked the same type of career, or at least the same company? Now, retrievers, the reason it becomes really interesting to study them from a sales methodology is because they know so much about their industry, they're immediately trustworthy. So they might not want to build a book of business past a certain point, but you know what they do better than anybody else in the sales cycle? They get referrals. Get it? Sorry, rough joke. So retrievers, referrals, because they're technical experts. Here's the problem with the retriever. If you have a team of legacy reps whose entire book of business is reliant upon referrals, what happens if that employee leaves, quits, passes on? What happens to your book of business? True story, Scottsdale, this year, kitchen remodeling company that we were writing their sales playbook for. 3 out of their 4 designers who also had to sell in the showroom were legacy rep retrievers. They were all retiring in the next couple years. What's going to happen to that business? So retrievers will get the book of business up until a certain point, but will a retriever want to learn new skills once it's mastered its craft? And some of you guys, you come up to me and you're like, hey, I really want to create a comp plan to incentivize my employees. And I look at your employees and I go, you can't, you got a bunch of retrievers. You need a different style of person in that role. So what's the pro about having a retriever on your team? What's the benefit? Consistency. Are retrievers some of the best employees to manage? Are they going to fill out the CRM correctly? Are they going to make a meeting to talk about a meeting to then talk about the other meeting that they just made? Yes. Do things slip through the cracks with retrievers? Rarely, if ever. If anything, they're telling you all the ways you messed up because they study this crap. What is the flaw with a retriever on your team?
You don't change or level up, you just kind of maintain.
They don't change. They won't grow necessarily. And they're going to have a really long sales cycle because they want it to be perfect. Retrievers in predictive index, we do have one in the room, and I think it's ironic because he's the one that's been answering all the questions about retrievers. What's up, Brian? All right, so we've got our first retriever. Here's how you know in PI if it's a retriever. Artisan, you can write these down. These are the things. So Brian is an artisan, scholar, operator, controller, specialist. Those are my retrievers. It's not right. It's not wrong. The question you have to ask yourself at the end of the day is, can you manage that type of person? Everybody has their good and bad, their right and their wrongs. Any questions on the retrievers? Artisan, operator, specialist, controller. If it sounds smart, probably a retriever. That's the way I like to think of it. If you are trying to sell to a retriever and a retriever is a buyer, what do you have to know more than anybody else? Brian, if you're trying to sell to a fellow retriever?
To know everything.
Yeah, there is nothing left to chance on this one. You need your product, your details, your specification, your pricing, your ranges. You need like basically an Excel spreadsheet for the Excel spreadsheet you're going to share. As much in the dirt, in the minutia, in the trenches you can get will help you close a deal with the retriever.
So it's just shopping the AC system for my house. And as you go to collect bids, which I've flipped a lot of houses and worked with a lot of contractors, but recently I think I feel like I've shifted in my own mind.
Yeah,
I think we're also all a little bit chameleon too, and some of my
CEOs, yeah.
analytical detailedness comes out. And I told you that I don't want to have Wi-Fi, I don't want this, I want this, I don't want that. But he couldn't match me on any of the details, and then he cold called me a couple extra times or followed up to just try to make the sale. And I was thinking, I wonder if I don't want to buy this, it's the right price, the guy's super knowledgeable, he came out, I mean, he's the right dude, but I just didn't feel right. And I think it's those things you're saying.
Probably
He
is.
didn't want to match the same level. He got into like old school sales mode rather than just following up on the details.
Mhm. And if you have a team of retrievers and you're not teaching a different type of sales methodology to them, they'll hit that same energy. Because, well, I was taught to overcome the objections. I was taught to ask for the sale. I was taught to follow up 5 to 7. None of that crap matters anymore, which I'll share with you when we get into the persuasion side. So thank you for that share, Eric. You get a sticker. You guys ready for the next animal that Kaylin completely made up but finds true everywhere she goes? Sweet, bunnies. All right, we love a good bunny, don't we? Think of a bunny as an employee. They hop, get it, around, project to project, company to company. They might not have strong, stable tenure in their resume, but like it doesn't matter because they're so damn likable. We hire them every time. Do you guys want a personal story about bunnies that's embarrassing? I was in Minneapolis. I was newly divorced and I was hitting on this gorgeous lumberjack of a man in Minneapolis. And we were at a bar and I grew up in a Christian household. So I was trying to woo him with my brain. And I go, bunnies lay eggs. And he goes, bunnies don't lay eggs. And I'm like, oh, they lay eggs. You should look it up. And he goes, I will bet you right now bunnies don't lay eggs. And I'm like, started making some money at this point. And I was like, oh, I'll see you to that. And I opened my wallet. I have a Kurt Geiger and I opened my Kurt Geiger and it was, all I had was $100 bill. I'm like, screw it, bunnies lay eggs. And I put it down, I go, look it up. And I'm like, game recognizes game. He thinks I'm hot. And the guy goes like this, you're an idiot. And then just walks off. So the moral of the story is don't talk to men in Minneapolis. Outside of that, a group of bunnies is called a fluffle. Fun fact you didn't need to know. Bunnies, they're just so dang likable. We hire bunnies because they're so charismatic in the interview. We can't imagine our corporate culture without them. Here's the flaw. Bunny comes back from a demo or a prospecting conversation, and you as the manager sit your little bunny down and you go, what did you learn about that customer? And they go, they got kids. And you're like, okay, but what about the problem that they have? I don't know. Did you update the CRM? Forgot to do that too. What else do you know about the buyer? They like to go fishing. And you're just like, freaking A, figure it out. And then you're like, okay, how'd the rest of the call go? And they're like, oh, by the way, here's a purchase order, 50 grand. And you're like, but you didn't do any of the stuff we talked about. And they're like, yeah, they bought. So bunnies can be impossible to manage from that standpoint, but you'll never fire a bunny because you what? Take a guess. You love them. They are the only reason that sometimes when you go into the office, everybody's laughing and smiling, but you really don't know necessarily what they're good at, but yet they still create the results. What's the flaw with hiring a bunny? If you have an artisan as a manager, Brian, how many headaches is that bunny going to give you every day?
Probably a ton.
Probably a ton, because you want that CRM filled out. And what did they put in the notes?
Like snow fishing.
I like the color of their jacket, like the most incrapulent, like it doesn't even make sense, but we all love a bunny. You have a bunny in your presence. Just for fun, point to who you think the bunny is in the room. Oh, it is so not me. That's cute though. Appreciate that. It's Lisa. Here's how you can spot the bunny too. The bunnies are the ones right now, as I'm talking about it, who are sitting there like this. Am I a bunny? I want to be a bunny. Pick me, pick me. So the bunnies want to be picked. So Lisa, congrats on the bunny. Collaborators, promoters, persuaders, or buddies. So if you want to write that down. Hiring tip. If you're trying to hire a bunch of bunnies, you would hire them because they are the best in sales at upselling and cross-selling. So think traditional farmers. Promoters, persuaders, and collaborators. They're the best at upselling, cross-selling. They're also the best at increasing the transaction size. Okay. If you want to hire a bunch of bunnies, I will source them from ADP, pharmaceutical companies, golf caddies at high-end golf courses. Give me a great hostess or bartender at a Ruth Chris. Don't hire the one from Denny's. Just get somebody that has had to deal with high net worth individuals, because then they're not going to be sticker shock, which means you're not going to have to go through price objections later on. But get yourself a bunny if in chance you need to identify low-hanging fruit in your database, which all of you are probably sitting on a couple million in your database alone. In sales, where I say fastest, closest to the dollar, and fastest to the dollar, which is the low-hanging fruit in the database. So if you've got a problem with your database and you know you're not maximizing and getting enough out of every single client, or a longer transaction size or a larger transaction size, get a bunny. Crush it. Okay. Any other questions on bunnies? Up next.
Do you keep the bunny after you harvest all those low hanging?
I do, because they're so fun that, like, you can't measure a bunny's worth by their sales volume. Anybody ever worked for or heard of a company that just culturally sucks? They're missing a couple of bunnies. Bunnies are the glue that keeps the team together. So you might not be able to analyze the portfolio and say, this bunny brought us $17 million last quarter. But you're like, this bunny kept the Tigers happy. And so, like, I love bunnies are also great usually in a marketing department. Somebody else said something, I might have cut
We
them.
feel that
Yeah.
there's marketing to be done, recruiting to be done. There's also a clinical department, there's clinical managers, supervisors, and directors. But they care so much and need to care so much about our clients, and we want that kind of culture that you're keeping the bunnies, yet you're always torn all the time. You're like, you have to have them for this part of the company, but my word, sometimes they're driving me insane because we're not doing the administrative things that
Yep.
need to be tackled. But if you don't have the heart, you don't have the culture you want. So it's just this.
And so there's the big ebb and flow.
Play.
Mhm.
Your meetings are different. You want to be like, you want to have a meeting we're used to having, but when those directors and supers are in the room, you're like, all right, we gotta have a meeting and not talk about numbers.
Yep.
Yeah, we need to drive revenue
Yep.
and improve the bottom line, but nobody say a number. No one use a percentage. It's a
100%.
different kind of meeting.
Really is. Wow. Yeah. And so, like, bunnies, it's the goodwill. You can't always put a dollar amount on what they're able to produce, but, like, it's there. And that doesn't mean that bunnies aren't great at sales. I feel like I'm making that distinction. I'm not. Bunnies can be your best upsellers and cross-sellers in an organization, but they've got to have a sales manager who can teach them persuasion. And then they're fine. Just a little extra training and a bunny's off to the rockets. Like, it's fine. Brian, were you about to say something? I cut you off.
Yeah, I'd say it also seems like the real positive culture within the organization.
Oh, it's fun to be around with lag and each other, and they can kind of keep it light.
Right.
They take the seriousness out of it.
That's not insignificant.
No.
No, you need both. I think you need both. That creates the balance.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want a whole herd of bunnies.
Fluffle.
A fluffle of them.
You wouldn't want a fluffle.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And I think that's what's awesome about this group is you guys are getting, you need a little bit of column A and column B and watch fly. Because we forgot about the last animal. The tigers. Talk about tiger. Tiger wakes up. It's Friday morning. Says, you know what? I've crushed it this month. I'm going to take the day off. The tiger's laying there in the jungle or wherever tigers live. And it decides it's hungry 3 minutes into its day off. And it sees a bunny hopping. What's the tiger do to that little bunny? Okay. So now the tiger's got blood on its face, basking in the sun. And then the other bunny in the fluffle comes looking for its friend. What's the tiger do to that second little bunny? Why? It just ate.
Just like
Because-
Loves the game.
Looks like that, these ones been eating well.
They do.
Tigers love the game, love the hunt, love the chase. They're usually your top producing salespeople, regardless of what the career is. Why? Because they figure out the way to do something that hasn't been done because they don't know how to listen to the rules for how it's supposed to be done. So all of your instruction manuals and your sales playbook, is a tiger going to follow it? No. Is a tiger going to be your top producer usually? Damn right. So let's analyze this for a brief moment. They're the top producers that have usually little to no attention to detail. You cannot train them, just like you can't push a rope, but yet they always figure it out. These are your natural born salespeople. They need a little bit of finesse, but if you're going to train your tiger, you probably just need a retriever to train it because the retriever is going to have the details that the tiger's not going to pay attention to anyways. The other fatal flaw in building a sales organization or in organizations where the technical experts need to learn how to sell is you just model the dang playbook after the tiger. Lock them in a room, ask them 4,612 questions and map out exactly what the tiger is doing, and you can build out part of your systems and scripts. It's what Dan Kennedy says. He doesn't know if he's ever had an original idea in his life because pioneers come home full of arrows. Take and steal everything you can from your tiger if you have them on the team. You put your tiger into doing one of two things. Number one, documenting what they do and just following around with a little recorder. Or number two, cold outreach. So if you are launching a new product or service this year, or your business is changing into something that hasn't been done before, you need a tiger in that role. You also need very little management in it. You just track one thing, and that's the numbers at the end. Do not confuse tigers with a bunch of ADHD, unmanageable squirrels. It can be very hard to spot the difference. So for recruiting for Eric, I'm going to give you guys an example on how to spot it. But real quickly, let me just explain who the tigers and bunnies are, or who the tigers are in this room. Raise your hand if you were a venturer. Okay, so we've got 2 right there. Raise your hand if you were an individualist, 3, 4. And then raise your hand if you were a maverick. It was me and somebody else, but I didn't catch. So Austin, yeah, you're a maverick. So typically tigers are entrepreneurial. So I always say if you are growing in an entrepreneurial like company, maybe have a really strong non-compete or non-compete clause. Because it's not unlike them to just take everything they can and start their own venture, which, by the way, if we have any entrepreneurs in here, it's probably what you did because you got tired of all the other people telling you what to do and you knew you could outperform them. So you just started your own dang thing. But because you have no attention to detail, or you forget details, or details slip through the crack, and because you can't articulate how it is you got to be so successful, you hit what we call the scalability paradox, which is what got you here won't always get you there because you need to map what's in your mind and put it onto paper to teach it to your dogs and your bunnies. Any questions? Okay.
We have pretty strict laws on non-competes in the state.
Okay, so then ignore that part. That's fine. Hopefully there's enough other golden nuggets for you that you can delete that part.
You can do it, but it's.
Okay, so ignore that part. Every group's a little different. Any questions on this? How do you sell to a tiger?
Human bodies.
It's actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good. Which, by the way, sales managers that are retrievers pair really, really well with tigers, and then throw a couple of bunnies in there, or else the tigers will spend more time in HR than in the field. But the little time that somebody once checked me, they were like, Kaylin, do you know that tigers sleep like 20 hours a day? And I was like, good, because if they was up. So just keep all of this in mind as we talk about the different styles. So any other questions on any of this so far?
I was just gonna ask Jane, you hired a couple 3 salespeople. And you said all of them are being successful or some of them, and where would you categorize them?
No, I missed part of it, sorry, it's been a call.
That's all right. We have retrievers, bunnies and tigers.
Yeah. Still kind of unknown on some of them.
Yeah.
Somewhat successful, somewhat not successful.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to look at the call logs and see if I can map it. So if you ever, I don't charge for it, like just send me their calls and I'll map it and tell you which each individual one is. It's fascinating to me. I also have no life. So my entire world is like answering these. I've got like 6 calls emailed to me today from other Vistage members, and I'll get on the treadmill and I'll just listen to calls and I'll voice memo info back. Like that's That's how my business keeps growing. I freaking love it. So I don't charge for that. So if any of you guys want me to analyze anything, just email it. You'll see my email on the bottom. But here's where we're going to take this information. I'm going to give,
Something. Okay.
So this was curious, I didn't catch the, how do you sell it a tiger? What did how do you sell it?
great. If you're trying to sell to a high net worth individual or an entrepreneur or a product or service that hasn't been done, that's what the next part is the impact communication model. Works very, very well in selling to a tiger or teaching a tiger a little bit of finesse. But we've got a couple of different things going. So I'm going to attempt to do all of it in the time we have, which means for some of you, it might feel scattered. It's not because like there's literally a PowerPoint matching what I'm saying. So that's how you know it's not scattered. But when we attach, which is so funny on this service, she was all over the place and scattered. It's like, then how did the PowerPoint match exactly what I was saying? But more on that later. Okay, so here's where we take this. I'm going to give you guys some recruiting help real quick to know if in an interview or on your existing teams, you've got a bunny, tiger, or dog, mostly to check the box for Eric. Then we will have a serious discussion on if you guys want to learn how to bring in more business. The problem with that is if you can't already support, if I said, I'll bring you in so many clients next month that your business doubles, raise your hand if your business currently operationally can support that level of growth. Okay, so you're either under time constraint or sales constraint. If you get more leads coming into your system right away and operationally you cannot satisfy those amount of leads coming in, it's a sales cycle you still need, but instead of selling your product or service, you need to be selling people and working for you, which AKA is recruiting. So if you can't double your business operationally, you probably shouldn't be focusing on getting leads. You need to build out your recruiting system, which by the way, recruiting is a sales system. Anybody who tells you not doesn't know how to do it effectively. Second, if you subscribe to that notion, then the fastest thing we can do, the lowest hanging fruit, is go over how to build out your 6-step framework for negotiations. That's not pushy, sleazy, spammy, scammy, pitchy, or pressury. So that's where we'll be taking this. But let's do the recruiting thing real quick to help out Eric. Is that fair?
Based on what you said.
Yeah.
Or maybe you want to focus to follow you there.
Yeah.
One of the things on the list was spot on. I think it's in the sales spot, but it's my recruiting problem, which is we hire, it's not the right person.
Yep.
That's usually talent. You seem to run. Maybe whatever. I just want to say that's the hyper focus. We do seem to be able to hire right now. Our turnover is insane, but it's only insane. Well, fair enough. And the turnover is in the first 7 to 30 days, which means we're not screening it.
Yeah, I do have a gap in your screen. Which is the question that you want me to address?
Maybe high turnover, wrong culture fit. So it wasn't.
Let's do this. Here's a couple of fail safes that have never done me wrong. And in my masterminds, these are what I teach constantly. So we're just going to test and play with this for all of this. Welcome. I am now your HR manager. You are all applying for a job to work for me. It's going to be great. What could go wrong? And in this conversation, I'm going to ask you a few questions. So first and foremost, let me go the questions first. Everyone's got a sheet of paper. If anyone needs one, let me know. You can jot something on the back. We're just going to test something. Do you want to write on the back of this so that help you out a little bit? Okay, so you got that. Cool. All right, here's your very first question. I want you to think of a time in your life that was your country music song moment. You know, your truck died, your dog ran away, your spouse broke up with you, something just like pivotal, one of the worst moments in your life. Okay, think of it in your head. Do not say it out loud. This is an interview. When you've got it, now I want you to write out 1 to 3 things that experience taught you or that you've learned from it. Please begin. What did that experience teach you, or what did you learn from it? Okay. Anybody want to share their response? Yeah, go for it, Eric.
I just wrote. When business, I hadn't read all this, but this is what I meant. When running a business that's making a lot of money, run it like it's not. Make your decisions, be tight, be ruthless. Control that bottom line. Processes, procedures, and policies matter. They need to be in place. So when you're overwhelmed, you can resort back to them. And then a little bit of that, like the green paper, green book conversation, be organized in your life such that when shit hits the fan, your whole bill doesn't blow up because you have something that someone else can follow or fall back on.
No, quick, if Eric was a sales guy and you just interviewed him, does that not give you a little bit of peace of mind as the business ebbs and flows that Eric will figure it out? So that's why I love this question. There's a chance in this room, this is presidents and CEOs, no? Okay, good. There's a chance that in this room, nobody wrote something like, well, I learned it wasn't my fault. I learned to not ask for help. I learned that my dad was a piece of crap. Here's the funny thing. You start asking this question to frontline employees, you better have your poker face because the things they will say will blow your mind. And when faced with the adversity of growing a business, which how many of you guys know that's a difficult thing to do, you will default back into that psychological state. So if Eric's having a business breakdown or a bad moment or a bad quarter or a bad year, because sometimes some of you guys know those bad quarters go for years. He's going to go back to process, procedure. How do I figure this out? What do I got to do proactively? See, some of you guys are worried about hiring your salespeople because they're order takers and they're not proactive. Ask them that question and watch their answer. It'll blow your freaking mind. Second question that I love to ask. This is a little bit of a two-parter. One question, you'll get it. Okay. I'm in an interview. As your impromptu fractional hiring manager, I will say, okay, thank you guys for coming to the interview. I looked over your resume. Can you go ahead? You don't have to list what's on your resume. I want you to write down 10 of your life accomplishments, but do not list creating a family because like the act of creation of a family isn't necessarily an accomplishment. So 10 life accomplishments, doesn't matter. You can go all the way back into 4 years old to last year. So write down as many as you can, try to strive for 10 accomplishments in life. Okay. First step. Who would like to share? I'm going to look for 3 volunteers on this one. Ideally a bunny, tiger, and dog, which means Lisa. You don't have to go first, though, I promise. Who else would like to kick us off? 10 accomplishments. Not all at once, though. It's very overwhelming when you all start to shout. Thank you, Dan.
There you go.
Well, there's so many accomplishments. I just ran out of.
Go on.
Read a room.
First of all, hired.
Yeah. Biggest accomplishment was having to me. Well, getting out of my hometown in Canada, most of my family, that would be a stretch for them.
Yeah.
Going to university again within my my circles, going to university was a big deal. So I was maybe the first one in my entire family did that. It was not particular order, it's more chronologically. You know, moving to the Bay Area was a big thing because, you know, it was like a young person's big change. That's where I met Lisa. So finding Lisa was the biggest accomplishment in my life, other than having a family. And then moving to Seattle, get a job at the Fred Hutch.
Can I interrupt you for a brief
Yeah, is
moment?
that-
Daryl, what was, no, not enough. What was your PI
Venture.
venture? Okay, carry on.
Oh. You know, buying a house, that's kind of it's hard these days to buy a house, but
Yeah.
it was a big accomplishment for us. We started our business and that's
Yeah.
one of the biggest accomplishments. Worked for a group in the early days that was really pivotal in HIV vaccines. It's just an exciting time and
Yeah.
be able to be part of a larger, really exciting initiative with really actually famous people working with. I was IT manager at the Fred Hutch, so I did a lot of work there at the group we worked with. We had a really successful project in HIV, 2 big studies that PrEP, you've heard of PrEP for the introduction. We were the 2 pivotal studies that went on to the FDA to do that. And then number 10 is our first user group meeting once we bought the company in Canada. It was really kind of a transition from organic growth to kind of buying another company and then getting suddenly now there's a whole different, it's like next level kind of stuff. So hosting that first user group meeting was kind of a big deal for us.
Congratulations. Cool. Now watch where this goes. Watch where this goes. Because this is, remember, I said selling in today's world is a game of inches, not yards. So watch where this goes. Do I have any other Tigers who want to share their accomplishments? Let's go, Maverick. By the way, why did Maverick not like chicken? Because they prefer goose. Sorry, I'm a Maverick too. So like that joke gets me every time. All right, Austin, 10 accomplishments, go.
So I said 4.0 GPA for high school, college and masters, even though I got food back oftentimes, said I wasn't a good student.
Fair.
Team captain, in the Cystic, we had playing basketball, high school and college. In the adversity, I guess in both high school and college, I wasn't like the star player started off in a situation where I was playing and overcoming that.
Yeah.
Getting married, paying off debt, making my first, like when I made 6 figures for the first time, because that was a goal that was memorable. Having the #1 team at my company, which we actually did last year. So that was
Congrats.
recent.
Love that for you.
#1 charitable in regards to, well, same our company in regards to impact or gifts given. I said buying my first home. And then 2, I know it said doesn't count, but having our baby girl this year, started a family.
So it's funny because Tigers throw in family every time, even though that's not the rules. How is this helpful as we hire? We just told them the rules and they're at their interview doing the best work they can do and they still broke the dang rules. Now, how many of you guys understand that Austin and Daryl's accomplishments are kind of all over the place? Why does this matter when we go to hire them? Because if they need to do cold outreach or cold leads, you want people who aren't afraid to jump into a different category of life or a different season of life without thinking about it. And they've both done that and they've achieved it. So I share this big example because when you're looking to hire a Tiger, this question to me has made me so much revenue because when you work with the Tiger, you know they don't have the plan figured out when you hire them, they will figure out the plan. And how they psychologically went out to find this is what made them successful, which gives me the comfort from my P&L to say, I will put a risk on paying for this person on a seat because they'll figure it out. Now let's take this in the opposite direction. I would like a bunny or a retriever to share their accomplishments. Watch the difference. So Lisa, you don't mind being voluntold? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
No particular order. Yeah, getting a graduate degree, living abroad, courage to separate from my first husband, finding the strong partner, the right one, building our company, paying off our loan, the debt, raising strong daughters, creating my own course and training material within our software. Daryl uses that PI all the time. He's like, I'm a venture, you're an artisan. So I'm like, no, I'm not a collaborator.
Were you an artisan before?
Mhm. Mhm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you don't fit the mold for where the bunnies are. Interesting. Okay, because you are coming very artisanal on this. So we're going to check it with Brian real quick, and then I'll show you what we're looking for.
But so having to be the venture and creator with our business, I was the one who would like, do the work.
Somebody had to.
That checks. That actually checks.
And then, be the one who would like, yeah, I'm the first one to, as we got larger, okay, I'm gonna be the one who tries out the new version of the software. I'm gonna be the one who tries out the offline capital. I'm gonna be the one who wishes for this. I'm gonna be the one now who's, moving, as we hire the CEO, moving away from work, like I'm doing like a new thing, clinical monitor. So like I'm still 60 and I'm still doing something different. Managing, like realizing that I could survive on my own after your first heart attack. And I think that's everything. Oh, and then speaking out my, being asked to speak at my alma mater.
Oh, yeah, that was really good.
How many of you guys see bunny in those answers? It's all like, it's funny because I didn't know that you were past artisan, but it's either making friends with people or being in the trenches. Retrievers are typically in the trenches types. So now that we know this about her, if we have an opening in our sales department, what are we going to know? Well, she can upsell and cross sell, but she likes to actually do the work. So I'm going to put her more on the administrative side than I am on the managing and growing the database side. She can do it, but I hear manager out of that just because of that reaction. So thank you very much for sharing that. Brian, are you comfortable sharing?
Sure. So building and customizing a 4-wheel drive truck when I was in high school was a huge effort, took a couple of years. Graduating college, getting my first job and career out of the demonstrated creativity, basically. Buying my first house with my wife, moving the whole family to Washington to start a new job, relocating, 2 states north, earning my real estate development certificate, taking over the care of my mom when my dad passed away, taking over their estate, and then doing the same for my wife's in-laws. Building a design build business unit at my previous company, and then most recently taking over SNK, the company I'm with now.
Yep. The majority of his, you guys catch that the majority of his require details in similar enough lanes to operate in. So that's when you look for an artisan, but you've got a little bit of a tiger in you too, because there's some things that just didn't quite track. So if I'm looking for a very, very strong sales leader, somebody who can actually map the system as well as get the job done, I'm probably going to put my money on Brian for that, because that's what his accomplishments have been in the past. So I hope you guys appreciated those questions. Those are my 2 fail-safe ones in recruiting. I use them constantly. So play with that idea, ask your teams, and then just start noticing what their accomplishments are, or essentially how they're going to act within your organization. All right, cool. You guys cool if we move on, teach you how to make some money? Love that for you. So we're going to talk about getting leads first. Remember, if you cannot operationally figure out how to take care of all of the leads you have coming in, none of it matters, because then you just have a recruiting problem at the end of the day. So let me see here, because we're going to do leads next. Okay, get leads. Big picture hierarchy thought. There's really only a couple of options in our businesses. And this is what's fascinating to me, because 5 years ago, nobody was thinking this. I'm good personal friends with a gentleman named Jeff Hoffman. Anybody know who that is? Okay, it's like my billionaire flex. He founded Priceline.com. So a lot of times when Jeff and I will be hanging out, I'll ask him a lot of questions that arguably he should be charging me for. And he has an institute as part of his entrepreneurial center where he runs like $30 million worth of research a year for entrepreneurial firms. And he said 5-10 years ago, it was really interesting because everyone wanted to learn how to make money. They were like, yep, I need to get more leads. I need to get more leads. But now the number one issue that entrepreneurs are reporting within his research firm is I need to figure out how to cut costs and save money. Now, let's take this into correlation. If you do not know how to sell and bring leads in, or your business has that as a weakness, your first thought is to cut costs. You would never think about cutting costs if you were having more sales coming in. So know that for your own individual preferences as we build this up. But there are some proven ways to do sales. I am a fan of cold outreach. There are so many different styles of bringing in business, but let me share real quick why I love cold outreach and why I believe companies in the future, you're going to go back to your 80s and your 90s of guerrilla teleselling and guerrilla marketing. Here's why. How many of you guys have competitors with an online presence? Probably every single one of you. If you go to your competitor's website, can you not figure out approximately their funnel, their SEO? You can use SEMrush, you can use all kinds of different, you can use BuildWith as one of the website engines. You can literally track everything your competitors are doing with a fine-tooth comb. How many of you have already figured this out? Okay, nobody. Let me write this down. Here's the sites to go to. Go to BuildWith, B-U-I-L-D with.com. This will tell you every little widget that is on somebody's website, and it is a no-cost service. So when I do competitor analysis and creeps, like part of building a sales playbook for the company is to cold call their competitors and just see how it is that they would sell me and what the competition's up against when they write their own systems. So if you need something fun to do on a weekend, call me, let's Zoom your competitors and go through their entire sales process and then reverse engineer yours. That will help you make more money faster than anything else I'm about to teach you. However, that's terrifying to do. And with phone number trackability, sometimes you get caught and then you get really fun letters in the mail. Not the point. Okay. The other one outside of BuildWith is SEMrush, S-E-M-R-U-S-H. This will tell you all of their website optimization and SEO. Many of us, when we are trying to scale our organizations, we do hire a marketing team or a marketing agency to help us, and they build our SEO, our Google profiles, help us get rated in ChatGPT. That's fine. Everybody's doing it now. So that is why I like cold outreach, because my competitors have no idea what the heck I'm doing. I have zero online SEO. I've got a couple of funnels that completely aren't trackable. Nobody knows what I'm doing day to day to get to my valuation. This year as a freelancer, I'll probably hit close to 1.3. I'm only saying this because the magic in one little person working out of an office in Nashville in her bedroom, the reason my revenue is where it is because nobody can track and copy what I'm doing. That's why I'm a fan of cold outreach. Once you get a tiger in a cold outreach zone, the limits are unfathomable. So cold outreach essentially means I'm going to reach out to people who do not know I exist. They cannot track the web presence. They're not going to necessarily be sent to a funnel, and I'm going to convert that funnel. It's a game of chess, not checkers. So let's talk about this. Biggest problem companies, they get excited about cold outreach, but cold outreach takes time because isn't it a numbers game until you find what works? So if you are going to go into cold outreach, give yourself about 6 months to just test some theories and assumptions. This is why you probably need a tiger in that role, because you have to be able to implement and fail every single day until you find the one thing that works. And then when you find the thing that works, put your money and resources into it. It's called the gold medal outreach strategy. And that was another one from Jeff Hoffman directly. So he taught me this. The goal of cold outreach, and you can take a photo of this slide, by the way, if anybody wants photos of these slides, you're more than welcome to. Every now and again, you will see my email or my website information on the bottom. And this is so you can send me your stuff and I can analyze it for you at no cost. So the goal of cold outreach is to get as many people as possible, which is called traffic, as much traffic as possible to become a lead. All a lead means is it's somebody you can talk to and have a conversation with. Notice I did not say sell to, because there are 5 Okay, so it'll cut out the bottom, but just work with it, please. Okay, so there are 5 styles or 5 avenues. We'll call it avenues. A lead is somebody you can have a conversation with, not sell. The moment it switches into a sales conversation is when they go into the prospecting funnel, if you will. So when we are trying to have a conversation with them before we sell, they have 5 options for any product or service. Let's list these out real quick. So if I cold outreach onto, Brian, you have SAK, that's your construction firm. So if I'm cold outreaching into your firm, you don't know if you want to talk to me. I don't even know if I want to talk to you. But let's say hypothetically, you do need to train your technical experts or your retrievers. You're looking at a bunch of different options. You're looking at me. What else are you evaluating? Probably another sales trainer, right? So somebody else.
Other option.
Yep. What are the other options Brian has at the point of making a decision on if he wants to buy?
Stop.
Yeah, wait. Which, by the way, is the easiest low-hanging fruit in your database. What's the other options?
Online training.
Yeah, we can do that. That'll be else. Great. Yeah. Clever. I like the way your brain works. Yeah. So we'll do else. Why don't people buy from you, Eric, as a recruiter? Why do you lose probably 80% of your leads that don't close?
Multiple reasons, but one is time. We're too slow.
Time, because is it easier that they just do it themselves?
Yeah.
So DIY, that's the other reason we're losing business. Fifth one's really hard, so I'm just gonna give it to you. Every now and again, you won't buy, but you'll still send someone a referral. So I apologize, I wrote the wrong referral. Here's why this is important. When it's a cold outreach conversation, you cannot sell because you don't know where in the buying process your prospects have these 5 things. Did I lose anyone yet? Okay. Here's why this matters. Do you need the photo of that? Okay, I don't want to like, hi, I'm in the photo. Okay. Okay, take a photo of this one. This is the most important slide you've seen so far today. The problem with tigers is they go out and they do their cold outreach, and anybody ever accidentally take a client and they wish they didn't? How fun was that lawsuit? So when we break it down into our ICP, all an ICP is a customer avatar. This is who we want to sell to. The more we know about our customer avatar, the likely our closing percentage increases. And we break down a customer avatar essentially by what's called psychographics and demographics. Anybody want to share the difference between that? Anyone know the difference between it? Okay, write these two down. And Austin, correct me if I'm wrong. Psychographics are the way that your prospects think. So if you are a bunny, tiger, or dog, you're probably going to want to write your messaging similar to a bunny, tiger, dog. If I'm selling a wealth advisory firm, I'm going to go half dog, half tiger on this one. And so a lot of my language is either going to be half detailed and then half try it and just try to get as many people on the phone as possible. The demographics are the specifics about how that person came to their thought process, specifically where in the country they're located. Isn't it true, Daryl, that selling to Canadian companies is totally different than American companies? Bunch of my HVAC and my subcontractors right now are based out of Toronto. I have no idea why, but I know when I go in Toronto, the sales process is inverted in a couple of different spaces. Same thing with what you're experiencing, I'm sure, in China, Kyle. So your demographics, where they live, their typical age, what their business size is, you've probably got some kind of a matrix of it. The problem is when you don't know your psychographics and your demographics and you put a tiger into doing cold outreach, they do a couple of things. They try to get as many leads into their funnel as possible. Every now and again, they forget how to define who they're actually going after. A cringe customer, super profitable, but annoying to work with. How many of you guys can relate to having a cringe customer? It's like, so how do you get rid of a cringe customer? Because do we want cringe customers? Pray. Just keep raising your prices steadily. So if you have that flexibility, that's how you get a cringe customer out. Because a cringe knows they're a cringe. That's why they pay so well. But eventually you're going to price them out of the market or send them somewhere else. Strategy piece. Befriend your competitors. It's a fallacy that competition is everywhere. Collaboration's at the top. So right now in the Vistage market, I know about every great sales trainer. I want to be very clear with that. And if for any reason at all, I feel like I'm not a fit for them or my schedule's up, I send my leads elsewhere and I collect a percentage of the revenue from sending the leads in my funnel outwards. So it becomes a game of who can get the most qualified leads. And you get rid of cringe customers by either sending them to a competitor and getting a really high ROI on your affiliate split. So usually got 10 to 20% average. The other side of this is your problem customers. Obviously, get rid of them. Cut the bottom 20%. If they're not profitable and they're not a fit, they're wasting your time. The likable customers, this is where my bunnies get problems, is they find customers that they just freaking love, but for some reason or another, they can't pay for their services. Is this a problem for anyone's business in here?
Sure.
Okay, here's what to do. If you have a book of business or you're going after likable customers who might not be able to afford you, best example of it is, write this down, Lawson's Finest Liquors. It's a company out of Burlington, Vermont. They have crushed this model and inverted it. Here's what they do. They put out an application. It's a brewery. They put out an application in their brewery that your business can apply for 30 days of events, et cetera, in their brewery. And anybody who comes, all the customers, all the traffic that come into this brewery, rather than tip, they say, would you like to sponsor the Boys and Girls Club of America this month? This is our charity of the month. And then they have a big community party supporting that charity, and all the tip money, instead of it going to the wait staff, goes to that charity. And they have created an amazing brand recognition because all of these companies that can't afford to work with them are now applying for the exposure. And then they have the PR side and the media side locally, always talking about what Lawson is doing for the community. So if you need to get out of the likable model, create some kind of a scholarship piece where it's okay to give back free services as long as you can negotiate for exposure. Which is also why I tell you guys, send me your playbooks, send me anything you want me to analyze at no cost, because I don't know if you can't afford it. At the very least, I record it and I create the content then for my YouTube channel to then qualify more leads in stealth mode. Outside of that, obviously the customer we want is the ideal customer. So sit down with your directors and figure out, who can afford this and is it a fit for us? And then get your tigers ready. Because the next question that usually comes up is, yeah, but Kaylin, I know I want to do cold outreach. You sold me on this concept. Should I do it on LinkedIn? Should I do it? How should I get cold outreach going? Should I direct message people? Should I send flyers in the mail? Should I do direct mail? Should I, there's a billion questions. And then the problem is, what do we say? Let me ask you. Anybody know how much a polar bear weighs? Doesn't matter, enough to break the ice. You're in cold outreach mode. You're just testing it until you find an icebreaker. So here are the 5 things that I have personally implemented into my clients' accounts this year that have all converted. Take a photo of this, and then I am recording this, but if anybody wants a voice memo on, you're welcome to record my voice to brain dump what I'm giving you. So I'll actually give you the tactics and strategies right now. Right. How are we doing, by the way? I'm fine if you guys want to stand because I could not sit still for 3 hours. Anybody offended that I didn't call it a formal break? Okay, so you guys, cool. I love those terms. All right, sweet. So let's do this. Anybody want voice memo on so that way you can just steal all this and implement it without having to pay me later? Okay, put voice memo on. Totally fine. You've got it on? Cool. Love that for me. Okay, so feedback approach. I like cold DMs and cold email outreach. And here's why. How many of you guys will pick up a phone call from an unknown number? One dude. Okay, so Kyle will. Outside of that, in sales, I said closest to the dollar. I also said most likely to succeed. Treat others how they want to be treated. I don't know the last time I picked up a call unless it was from my mother. Like that's my only rule. So by the way, call your mom. You need that message today. There's a reason. Call your mom. Okay. Most of mine is done through email or LinkedIn. In fact, I would say the majority of it. There are software capabilities and scraping capabilities that will blow LinkedIn out of the water. Do you guys want me to put that in your email recaps as well? There's 2 services I use. One adds a video and then the website behind, so you don't even have to go to the video. It uses all AI and it'll take my image of me talking and transform my voice to match what that cold outreach message is. And then your client's website will be on the bottom before it goes into a slide deck, all fully automated and sequenced on LinkedIn. I'll send you that. The other one is just an email sequence that's all using AI and AI virtual employees. So I'm messing with both of them right now. Love them both. I'll send you guys those info. They are affiliate codes, FYI. So if you do enroll, thank you. Okay. Outside of that, here's the 5 approaches. Number 1, most successful I've ever done this year is the feedback approach. All the feedback approach is it simply says, hey, if you've never opened this new product, service, territory, and you're trying something completely new, I will reach out to somebody with a great looking flyer, usually through email, and I will say, hey, this is an exact line I've used. So leadership sales training, let's say I'm trying to open up a Seattle market. And I look down, by the way, when I give my voice memos, so I don't get in my head about body language. Is that fair? Cool. Okay. So here's what it'll sound like exactly. Hi, Stephen. I've been successfully doing sales training all across the United States with the exception of Seattle. I'm reaching out to you today, not to sell you on my sales training, but attached to this, you will see a flyer. I'm curious if there's any of your member companies in that market that could get value from something like this, but more specifically, what they would want to see should I even consider joining this market. Would you be willing to take a couple of moments, look at the flyer and tell me if I've hit the idea of what will work in Seattle or if I'm way off base? No problem if you don't do it. I respect and honor your choice. Thank you for your kindness.
Who's that work for?
Everybody.
I did delete the first 2 seconds on my voicemail, but I do that all the time. That's not on you. I do it all the time.
What are you talking about?
Isn't that a memo you put out?
No, I'm emailing this to somebody
It's
with a
an
flyer
email.
attached or an email.
So same thing. That's just me. I don't look at the emails or the voicemail stuff, but I do.
You might not
People
to.
like, this number to call me. Won't do it the first time. If I see it 2 or 3, then I'm like, who the hell?
2 or 3. Yep.
Keep going.
Check your laws on ringless voicemail for your strategy. That's when your phone doesn't actually ring, but the voicemail shows up, and then people just look at the transcription anyways. Okay, cool. Yeah, that stuff blows it out.
Just curious how that played into.
So here's how. I love this freaking group. I wish I didn't have a flight. I'd be like, cancel everything. Let's just nerd out. Here's what's going to happen is we don't know if Steven's going to respond to this or not. But if he does, he's going to do one of 2 things. If he responds, he's going to tell me everything wrong with this flyer and what I have to offer. This is good because I get 100 responses of Steven. I've now changed my offer. So it's a soft launch into a new product. Or he's going to say, which is actually how it happened. It's how I landed a bid for Delta Dental. I said, I'm thinking about helping dentist offices. I've been doing this in holistic healthcare clinics, just a slightly different niche or industry. And they said, actually, this looks great. Would you be interested in training all of our dental offices? So you could FOFO and get a sale off it, but more than likely, you're using it to test your initiatives. Because in 3 months, when I've gotten 100 responses back from the other Stevens about what his members are really struggling with, how likely is it I say, hey, I took your feedback. This is what we came up with. Let me know if you'd ever like to have a discussion. So that's why there's a little bit of a lag time on this. Second one, or did you want to add to that, Eric? Nope. Okay. If you do, totally fine. Second one that I love to use is the what's trending. Y'all, this entire workshop has been what's trending. We're talking about what works, what doesn't work. This is best you can do an email and then route it to a webinar or a free course, like a mini course, because everybody knows, how many of you guys know a webinar is basically a pitch nowadays? So how many of you guys are likely to attend a webinar knowing they're going to ask for the sale anyways at the end and you're all annoyed by it? You'll attend it, but only if they've got that brand recognition. So what's trending? Here's an example of a hook or a title I would put in a subject email. And by the way, my newsletter is 100% what's trending. So it's the facts and the figures of what's happening in Vistage member companies to grow their companies using non-outdated sales techniques. So one of the best hooks I like to use with the what's trending is how we helped a construction firm increase their bid acceptance rate by 37% and market to everyone within zip code 92106. So you have something like that goes out, that has a high ROI because I'm not saying I'm going to sell you. I'm just showing you how I've done it for somebody else before. Okay. These things are what's working in this market. Don't try it in this market. So any of like these things that are working for. The next one that I've used with success this year is the behind the scenes. The behind the scenes is fascinating. This is where you can show, not tell. Does anybody have a specific, what is Kyle, you're a restaurateur?
I have a restaurant. Yeah, I'm a seafood exporter is where I'm doing something in China.
So I would do some kind of, yours would be a great from behind the scenes. Here's the 5 things we're doing with our food, how our food is cultivated or how the oysters are grown or manufactured, grown, I don't know. Something behind the scenes that you wouldn't normally think of just to create that top of funnel awareness. The 4th one is it can be confusing between this and what's trending, but the 4th one is how we, there was a gentleman out of Minneapolis, there we go, who got a bid. He's the hospitality clinic, the hospitality firm behind the 2028 Olympics. And the only reason he got in there was he just showed case studies of how he's helped other major events when they come to town in Minneapolis from a hospitality standpoint. So it's all the case studies. The thing about a case study is it has to be 1, 2, 3 steps directly on what they did that they can do it themselves, regardless if they ever want to work with your firm. That is the magic number, because the more nonchalant you are in your persuasion, the higher your closing percentages are, because you're not attracting that cognitive bias. So throw in, regardless if you decide to go with us or not, check out this case study. Here's 3 things you can do. This has worked also extremely well for you gentlemen in construction. Brian, and was it Kyle? No.
Eric.
Dang it. Okay, I apologize. For Brian and Eric, one thing we did with the case study is we called all the major architects. This was in St. George, Utah. We called all the major architects and project managers for a framing company. And we just simply said, hey, you're going to get a bunch of bids when you're ready for it. Why don't you come to our office? We'll sponsor a lunch and learn, and we will walk you through step by step by step how to analyze a bid. So that way you guys feel comfortable in making the right decision. And by the way, these are some of the companies that we've helped with that bid analysis and the projects they've done. So we're not selling them and working with us on a bid. We're showing them how to analyze the bid as the case study. And then the 5th one, I have seen it less effective in today's world, but I'll give you a really great example of it, is the audit scorecard. When you do any kind of an audit or scorecard, and there is another trainer in the Vistage market who is doing this as their primary lead magnet, which is why cold outreach is better, because I know what they're doing. I filled it out myself. They give you a percentage of, like, your sales team is only 72% optimized. Obviously, like, you're going to say my sales team sucks because you want to sell me something. So when you do an audit scorecard as part of your outreach, be very careful that you are not pitching with it. The best company I've ever seen pull off an audit scorecard, write this down, go to rosegardenconsulting.com. It's a sales trainer. You will fill out 10 to 15 questions on their website about your team, and it'll show you how much money you're leaving on the table, and they will email you your results. Here's why this is freaking magical. They don't follow up on their dang leads. I probably put 3,500 people last year through their funnel. Not a single one of them has gotten a phone call, and instead just email me your results. So the reason we love the audit scorecard is because people are curious what their results are, but because they're expecting a pitch at the end, it's not as effective. But it's one of the best ones I've seen. So that is how I would go out and approach leads. I would send these as DMs on Instagram. I will do a cold email outreach funnel. I will even use AI now and have an AI agent doing it for me. Last month alone, I've sent personally 2,500 messages. I didn't, but my AI team did. And then you constantly wake up and you've got leads. Problem is, what I say the biggest problem with lead generation is, it works. I'm one person. Can I respond to that many leads? No. So what do? I send them to my competitors and I get a cut of that affiliate model. So the next question is if you get too many leads, who can you give those leads to and still monetize it? You guys liking this? Okay.
Question, comment.
All
Tim
of it.
Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek, on a 20-year-old book. That directly goes to these. Like, I feel like he was ahead of the curve on lots of it. I see all of those, maybe not be back and forth as much, but all the rest of them are informational, learn, teach them, draw them in. Is that fair to say?
100%. Tim's the GOAT. Love what Tim did.
He's obviously set the bar on it, still do. Coaches monetizes anyone around him with that model, and it's more leads that they can go through, obviously.
Yep.
It's just sell them everything.
Yep. There's a whole mastery class on what's called mind mapping of how you can generate lead gen. It's up to you guys. You guys want to do one real quick, or do you want to get into the negotiation tactics? Raise your hand. Everyone close your eyes. Raise your hand if you want mind map. It's what you're talking about right now with Tim Ferriss and how he did that and how we built that engine. So it's a lot of strategy, big picture work. Okay. Raise your hand if you wanted the negotiation instead. Okay, great. It was half and half. Love that for me. Here's the deal. I'm going to stay here and answer questions individually. If I'm in your shoes, you do need to go on a break because it's been way so long and I want you guys to feel energized. So do like 5 minutes. If you're longer than that,
Yep.
I'll just wait longer. I'll stay here if anyone wants free consulting or tips.
I think it's hard to connect with people on the LinkedIn because you get so many messages now.
Yep.
We just had a speaker that talked about using the microphone, so you can the voice memo. So I've tried that, but I don't know if it's.
I don't like
Yeah,
it because
sure.
I'm not gonna listen to someone's voice if I don't know them. Like,
Yeah.
because I don't know what creep's gonna DM. Like, it's just, to me, it's a little too.
Well, it's after they accept your invite. So, but yeah.
It's one thing, like, if it works for a market, test it. Like, who am I? You know, but yeah, it freaks me out a little
I
bit.
haven't known me, but to really engage that. Oh, thanks for leaving that.
Yeah, nobody's like, oh yeah, I loved hearing your voice on a Tuesday. Like, nobody, I don't know.
You share this deck?
Yes, I might cut out a couple of things because this is like 85 pages and some of it's client info. But yeah, I'll set up, yeah. Specifically, is there a certain part you want?
Easy to go back through it.
Yeah, no problem.
For a refresh.
And I'll give you the voice recording as well too. Yeah.
Be great.
What's your business too? Remind me?
Contractor.
Contractor, okay.
Of those 5, what if you pay for leads yourself? Is there one that's, like, we're in a situation where we buy a significant amount of leads, so it's warmer, but then you're trying to differentiate from others who are buying those similar leads.
What are you selling, Austin?
Financial planning, wealth management.
Is wealth advisory about the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, because so I just helped Josh Markowitz. He's a financial advisor out of Chicago. Oh, free portfolio analysis.
Okay.
Yep, free portfolio analysis or rebalancing your portfolio due to insert whatever event due to MLK Day. We are doing a free portfolio analysis. You don't even have to share your portfolio. We'll just have a conversation with you and walk you through what the best practices are doing and how they can go into each different market, whether it's emerging markets, et cetera, et cetera. Something like that, just to get that conversation going. No obligation, no pitch. It's our community service for insert zip code.
Okay.
Something like that would be very effective, or at least that's what's been working for Josh. And then what we did after that was the upsell. Okay. Oh, dang it. Okay. So, you have your phone?
Yeah.
Voice memo this. It's going to be 10 times easier for you. I'm actually debating if I want to just share with the whole group. Yeah, I'll share yours with the whole group because people will be able to take bits and pieces from it. I've got your back. I've got your back. I just did this one like 2 weeks ago and it's been wild to see what happens. So I'm very, yeah.
I was also curious too, like if you have a significant amount of leads, even like for your business, do you, like, are you utilizing AI to kind of like rank the quality of those leads and like prioritize, I mean, those best leads for yourself, or is there any process around like what gets sent out to affiliates versus what you take on yourself?
I love that question. I don't, because when I get the point of the lead, I don't know enough to know enough.
Yeah.
And I don't want to disqualify someone. So I'm very in a blessed spot where if like, I like the person, I'm going to be fine. And that's the only way I decide if I want to do business with somebody, but that's the benefit of being freelance is I don't have the overhead.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Are you playing with AI in any way like that?
Yeah, so there's programs that can kind of determine like the demographics, so like, you know, and their interests and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So we've kind of used that to kind of like rank, which is I would say 80% accurate, not all the time. And then you know, that can help screen, and then you can determine, of course, you know,
Yeah.
like then and you know, you might guys work on the
Okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
that's something that we've just like in the last year done more of, because we
What's the tool called?
That's called Kitchlight.
Do you mind emailing me that?
Yeah.
My email's right there if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be super, and then I'll send you some of the ones I'm playing with too. Thank you.
It will.
Patch light, okay, yeah, I haven't heard of that one yet.
And I think that's maybe more specific for wealth advisory, or maybe they do it in most, but basically. It just ranks based off like their age, like their interests, like.
Life events,
Yeah, propensity to buy, yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. Yeah, I will definitely look at that one. It's intriguing for sure. Ugh.
He's been building this out of 2 years with the contractor with banks were. Yeah.
How big's your firm?
So, 16 of us.
Okay,
total.
that's a pretty good size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're, virtual and national, so we're in a bunch of different markets, which is fun.
They have to be licensed for each state though, no, the employees?
Yes.
Okay, so
Getting
that-
a license is actually pretty easy.
Is it?
Have a license, you just have to pay fees.
Okay, okay, wow. Such a wild world is wealth management, like, I've played with some through like Vistage groups, but like Josh meeting him, game changer for that industry. I was like, you kidding? Like the things
Well, it's very dinosaur age, like this is hugely.
you got a lot of legacy reps?
We just had.
And that's a huge opportunity from like an acquisition standpoint too.
Yeah.
But I mean, marketing and it's very much like,
Can't
oh,
say
I get my
anything.
referrals or. Like you mentioned that capacity. I think like 600 clients, so I can't even manage that, let alone.
I can pay
invest in bring on new clients.
And do you take part of their portfolio there, and this might be a rookie question, but like, let's say I want to work with you as a wealth management and I give you $4 million. Do you take my 4 million and then invest it into your own funds so that way you have a captive? Is it similar to insurance the way yours is working like that?
Oh, we have an open architecture.
Okay,
We can invest in whatever and there's no like backs or commissions between one versus another.
okay,
And then we do,
It was.
do like financial planning, because
Because
sometimes
that's
it's not so much managing investments, it's like tax planning or gold.
Okay.
planning. Yeah.
how fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I like your tiger, cause like for me, we can have like 2 tigers on, which is myself, this is my business partner. And then we utilize like the retrievers to make sure like the client service is what it should be.
Yep. So you guys you're the executives in the best sales seat. Blessing and a curse, I'm sure. Okay. So then, it's probably a structural training issue to get the new people to think like you guys do for getting the business now.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Do
Do you guys like being in the sales seat?
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's the, yeah,
I think the briefs obviously you gotta do.
But you also kind of let her like from an impact.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can do that, or you can empower like more people to do that.
Understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How fun. What a wild world. You guys want to get started again? Okay.
Yeah.
I can always tell the groups that like this because they want to get started right away and they're like, we don't need breaks. All right, cool. So, all right, welcome back. I promised Austin some golden nuggets. I didn't realize he had a wealth management firm, so I thought I would just share them individually, but then I realized you guys will probably, how many of you guys know that when you experience share, you learn from the other people? So that's what this is going to be. I'm fine if you want to voice memo this. I did not practice this part of the presentation because I did not know Austin would be here. And so take this for what it's worth. Wealth management or highly trustworthy environments is the degree in which we're selling to. So I recently did work with the sales process for a wealth management firm. And here's essentially what we did to get them a much larger book of business very, very fast. In wealth management, the number one thing we need is trust. The number two issue that wealth management companies have is they usually have a lot of legacy reps and people who don't want to go out and get new book of business, which usually means that the executives are in the sales seat. This is great if an executive wants to stay in the sales seat, but if an executive wants to build that intellectual property, teach their team so their team can sell so they can take a freaking vacation, that's where it is a paradox of choice. So here's what we did for wealth management in a high trust environment. We picked one specific zip code. For me, it's always easier to sell to people who have money than don't. take that on for whatever you want. So we picked the wealthiest zip code we could possibly find, and that was where we started. And what we asked for was we did this kind of approach. And we just simply said, hey, we are wealth managers in this thing. As a special thank you to our community, we've been in business here for 15 years. We wanted to offer you a free portfolio analysis or share with you behind the scenes of what's working in today's uncertain environment. This is where you make a marketing ploy, or you can call it like the frat boy party. How many of you guys in college, you just had a party and it was like, Jimmy got his teeth knocked out, kegger, like same concept, right? So whatever your concept is, MLK Day, Museum of Flight Appreciation Day, whatever the heck you want to say that's trending in the news, as a special appreciation to this zip code, we're offering a portfolio analysis. Make it immediately clear they do not have to share their portfolio, because it's a trust game. Nobody's gonna be like, hey, Austin, look at all the money. They don't have to share their portfolio. So you dive down and use that catch flight thing that you were talking about. And then you say on this conversation, it's a 30-minute webinar or 30-minute individual coaching call. I'm gonna ask you roughly 5 to 7 questions, and then I will give you the best tactics of what we are seeing build wealth in today's economy. Right, wrong, regardless if you go with us or not later, but we will not even invite you to go with us after this conversation. It's just a free community service that we're giving out. And then that becomes the top of the funnel. The people who book that, AKA the traffic who booked that, on that call, all you are doing is you are doing the portfolio analysis and the 3 to 5 tactics you're going to teach them in this call. Each one needs to be bookended with a question about their portfolio. So the first one is, I'm assuming you've got a net worth of over 2 million. You don't need to agree to that or not. But if you do, first closest to the dollar I would recommend for you is this. Is that the case for you? Oh yeah, I've got a portfolio of 5 million. Awesome. So with yours, you probably need to be rebalancing it quarterly. Are you rebalancing it quarterly? Oh, not as often. What's your propensity to risk? Do you like developing markets, or do you like stable market? Like, what is the thing that you want? And so each end of your 5 points that you share is bookended with a question. So you can combine the prospecting call with the information gathering call, and then you know how to follow up the leads. At the end of it, the way that we were getting for Josh's company to actually come in and meet you is you would say, print out some of your portfolio, or we'll give you a computer when you come in, and we'll specifically show you what stocks to sell, which ones to buy, so we can rebalance your portfolio. And you do something like that, and here's what's going to happen. A few months later, somebody's going to say, you know what? You give me more value in this conversation than anyone else. Let's move forward. And in my newsletter, there's going to be a giant case study of this coming out about specifically how we did that and structured the calls. So it wasn't pushy, sleazy, spammy, or scammy. The other thing, when you start your conversations with these prospects, we made it immediately clear we only happen to have 30 minutes available. So we get straight to the point right away, and we don't put a bunch of rapport and filler in it. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. All right, how to negotiate, or any questions, concerns, comments next. Okay, all right. So remember earlier I said nobody likes sales, so we have to change how we're having sales conversations. And the model I invented, I call it the impact communication model. So let's do it. When I was new to the Vistage market, I didn't realize that these things are like gold. Do you guys have any idea how expensive these easels with these Post-it notes are? It's like $40 for one of these like Post-it sticky things. It's insane. And I didn't know that. And so there's this really nice chair who I swear hates me. And so like I went through like half a sheet in one, and I was like, la, da, da, da. I was just like making mistakes and not paying attention. It was so embarrassing. Anyways, not cool. Okay. 3 things top negotiators do perfectly. Let's set up our notes for success. We might not have time to get through all of this today, in which case I apologize. Someone once said I didn't dress professional enough, so I put on a Tiffany watch, but it doesn't have a battery. So I never know what time it is. So we've got half hour to go through this. So, so stupid. They're like, you don't dress professional. And so I'm like, okay, I'll just put on really expensive jewelry. All right. 3 things top negotiators know better than anybody else. First one we've talked about, keep the bias low. There's a couple of things in a sales cycle that we intuitively do that increase bias, that lose sales. So if you sound pushy, sleazy, spammy, scammy, if you find a pain, build a gap, if you ask for the sale, if you put rapport in the beginning of the conversation, if you minimize yourself, things like thanking the prospect for their time initially, does not work in Canada, by the way. So if any of it seems too direct, does not work in Canada. But I'm gonna break this model down, but keep in the back of your mind, if you want to be an incredible negotiator, at all times lower the bias. Second thing they do. Top negotiators, for my tigers in the room, you probably instinctually do this, you've just never had it labeled. You follow a framework. Things I love about sales is we know that all different cultures and backgrounds are different, obviously, but the truth is the truth is the truth is the truth. How to negotiate, it's common across all different types of lifestyles with a little bit of nuance. So top negotiators are all following a framework. My guess is it is this framework exactly. The reason some of you are not growing your business to the size you think is your framework is inverted. And I'll show that in just a moment. So there's teeny tiny little switches that you guys can do. The third thing that top negotiators know how to do better than anybody else is they make sure that any call with the prospect is going to be the most fun call that that prospect's had all month. If sales isn't fun, you're doing it wrong. Okay. I'm going to pick on somebody for just a brief moment to show you guys the model. Anybody in here happily married? It's a trick question. Daryl, you passed. So, yep, got it. Happily married, and then you pursued your spouse. You hit on your spouse. Did you hit on your spouse? Okay. You cool if I pick on you? What age were you? Just say over 18. Okay, that's all it's going for. Like, it's always weird in this, like, we met in high school in science class, and I'm like, okay, congratulations on being a unicorn, not quite applicable. Okay, so that's all I was checking. Thank you for that. So, you put this here instead. Okay, so Kyle, what's your sweetheart's name? Shannon. Okay, so tell me how you knew Shannon was a person on the planet. Where'd you meet?
Like through a mutual friend.
Mutual. Okay, watch where this goes. Referral. That's all it was. It was a referral. Now, when you first saw Shannon, did you do any research on her, anything like that? You asked the friend any questions about this fine looking woman?
No, they told me a little bit about her.
Okay, so we did light amount of research. This is why it's funny. Step number 1, go ahead, write this down. Step number 1, I call it initiate and prepare, but you can just write initiate if you prefer. Fast tactics for negotiation, because I got 25 minutes. Fast tactics for negotiation. If you are a sales manager or you are running a team that you want them to sell, cap your freaking preparation to like 3 things tops. Here's why. If you have a legacy team or a team of dogs, they will spend the entire time in preparing and forget to actually do the work. If you have a team of bunnies, they're not going to care about what you want them to prepare about anyways. If you have a team of tigers, they're not going to do it regardless if they care or not. Tigers will figure it out as they're going. So it's easy and more manageable to just track 3 things. And closest to the dollar for the 3 things to track are the following. And you're fine if I pick on you? Yeah. Okay, so we meet Shannon through a referral. Needs to know these 3 things. Number 1, she currently with another supplier. It was pretty good, wasn't it? So what was the answer to that, Kyle? Was she? Were you?
Initially.
And the plot thickens. Okay, so here's why this is important. If they're currently with another supplier, because I keep wanting to call you Josh, I apologize, Kyle. If they're with another supplier, you need to know they've got options. She don't need to date you. She could go with someone else, and I'll let you guys fill in the gaps for the rest of it. Here's what is important. If they're with another supplier, what does that tell you about your closing percentage? Does it go up or down?
Yeah. Because they need it.
they're at least willing to have a conversation. If they're not willing to have a conversation, they're with another supplier, then it's not a fit, and it's not a customer, and you don't have to push. Pull the book from Austin's book of business, just give a ton of value, and then end the call prematurely and early. So once you prospect with them and you have those qualifying conversations, you start asking about their portfolio. If they don't match your ICP, send them like free book recommendations. Hey, go on Audible, buy The Wealthy Barber. That'll help you a ton in your financial journey. Get rid of that customer, move on. But if they're with another supplier and they're having a conversation with you, regardless if they admit their pain or not, they're in pain, because nobody will get on the phone with a prospective new vendor if there's not actually a reason. Don't ask about the reason, just make that as a mental note. Second thing Kyle ideally wants to know in order to initiate successfully with Shannon is, has she done business with your kind in the past? Now think about that. Why do we care about that? What happens to your closing percentage? She's interacted with your type in the past, aka men. At least you got a shot. She's only been with women in the past. That's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. Closing percentage goes up. Someone me switch. Shut up. I love it. Closing percentage goes up if they've interacted with your specific brand in the past. There's a reason exes get back together and you're supposed to wait 6 months. Closing percentage shoots up. So if they've interacted with your database, if you've ever had a call with them in the past and for some reason business didn't work out, if they were a previous customer in the past and business didn't work out, if they've downloaded a lead magnet on your website, a template, if they've done your free scorecard audit, anything like that, your closing percentage shoots up. Additionally, if they are with another supplier and they have done business with your kind in the past, what objection did you just get rid of? There's 5 objections in sales. If you know that 2 bits of information when you initiate and prepare, which objection do you think you got rid of? What are the 5 objections in sales? Let's go there first. Price. And that's also the answer to the riddle. If you know that they have spent money in the past to solve the situation that they're in, price isn't necessarily a factor, as long as you're likable. So bring in a bunny. See how that all works? I put down in here a little gift box, and then I covered it up. I always list out the objections down here. So we've got price. Let's go through all the objections real quick. Price, what?
Fit.
Yep, fit. In which case, if it's not a fit, don't try to push, like send them free resources. What else? Timing, yep. Number 1 reason people lose business nowadays, logistics. The pain in the ass factor, isn't that true? Okay. I put it in a gift box because if I was teaching my technical experts how to sell, how many of them have a cognitive bias over objection handling? Every single one of us. It's the least, it's like the reason all the sales trainers online talk about how to overcome objections is because they think it's really, really helpful, but it's just a way to get the foot in the door, because if I can help you overcome your objections, then I'm going to realize your entire process is off anyways. So there is no real objection handling methods nowadays, especially if you follow the impact model. But when I work with front lines, I put them in a gift box, because if somebody is giving you an objection, it's actually a gift, because it means the rapport was built so well that you can actually have the conversation around it. And so to lower the cognitive bias when we're talking to our front lines, just call this the gift box. So what are the conversations that need to happen? It'll take care of 90% of the issues.
So that's 4. Are there 5?
Um,
For us, it's inertia.
What's that
There's
mean?
a solution that works, and they're just too lazy to change.
Logistics.
Logistics.
It's too much of a pain in the butt to change. This is the number 1 reason I've noticed for companies 5 to 50 million. Are you in that range? It's a big range, but 5 to 50 million, it's because it's too much of a pain in the butt to serve, especially in tech. It's like changing out tech, anything like that. It's probably going to be logistics. It's so now watch where this goes. Watch where this goes. If we know that most business is being lost in logistics, let's build that into our sales cycle. An entire conversation about logistics, if in the event they want to buy. Keep that in mind. And the third thing to encourage your reps to prep on is the why now factor. And this is to what Austin was saying earlier, is how are you qualifying your leads to know what it is? In wealth management, there's probably 7 life events in order to convert somebody looking at their portfolio: the death of someone close to them, divorce, major change in career status or relocation. So just understanding and being able to track what the life metrics are that would make that other person have the propensity to purchase. And that's it for prep work. If you give a retriever any more than that, how long do retrievers usually spend prepping? Yeah, they might have a meeting to talk about the meeting, to then re-talk about the meeting. What are bunnies gonna do with the prep work? Who cares? Let's go fishing. What are the tigers gonna do with the prep work? It's a trick question. The tigers already tuned out this section, so that's why we move on and we make it as easy as possible. Second up, Kyle's got to go talk to the pretty girl. What was your initial statement? How did you woo her in the beginning? She's with a friend.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually met her when I was drunk, so that probably was a good first impression.
There's honesty.
Hypothetically, what do you think your line was?
I don't know, because I don't remember, but a couple days later, she texted me and I had put her name and my last name in my phone.
He assumed the sale right away.
He closed the deal.
He went straight for the close. All right. I love it. I love it.
Your first name?
No, her first name, my last.
And she.
She texted me. It was in my phone.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Presumptuous.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna start doing that when I meet guys. I was just like, just to mess with them.
It was not a good first meeting. I'd been traveling for a while and I just come home that day and I was out with my friends and they invited her to come meet us.
How freaking funny. I love it. Okay. Anybody?
Like, he's not normally like this.
And you were like, yes, I am. Here's why this is important. Here's what I didn't hear. Hi, Shannon. I think I fell in love with you. Here's everything about my family history, my dreams for the future. You want to get married? Because I already changed your last name in my phone. Did you tell her that? Did any of you tell your perspective? If it doesn't work in dating, it doesn't work in sales. This is going to be key for you. Here's why. Certain things you do that attract bias initially and shut down the conversation in a sales in a negotiation before it even starts. Here are all the things. I'm going to rapid fire golden nugget tactic you. You ready? First thing out of your mouth is your tonality. You were taught in a negotiation to be friendly and enthusiastic, weren't you? Stop it. Let's test it out. Hi, Brian. So glad we had the opportunity to chat today. Really looking forward to our call.
What do you want?
What are you selling me? You don't even know me.
You just proved being friendly doesn't work. So instead, Brian, I don't even know if it makes sense to have a conversation. Do you mind if I just ask you a couple questions and then I've only got half hour? We can cut to that part where I give you advice or just give you some help, or we can just end the call in a couple minutes. You good to get started? As nonchalant as you can. All you are doing is buying the next 15 to 20 second increment. Cool. Now, so we're going to get there. We're going to get there, but Eric's following this perfectly. So teach your team. Do not be friendly and enthusiastic. I do not smile in the beginning of calls. This is more effective for women than necessarily men. The more I smile in the beginning of the call, the more I come off as flirtatious. It's a thing that women have to deal with. I don't know. My tonality is almost like I don't care to do business with you. If a salesperson doesn't care to do business with you, where's your bias go? You're not triggered. Other thing I did is I told you got half hour, no more, no less. Half hour is a good, safe place for that first conversation. This is at the point of a pre-book meeting. It's not necessarily a cold call, although there's synergies. They're at least open to that whole half hour if they agree to go. 45 minutes is too long. The exception, wealth management. So I've had a lot of them. I'll go 45 minutes for an introductory portfolio analysis free consultation. Write down for you, Austin, the prosperous coach. If you read that, that'll be a good way into the wealth analysis sales style. So, okay. Other things I don't do in the make a connection phase. I don't thank them for their time because my goal is to give them more value than they gave me. If anything, I'm being taken advantage of. So I'm not going to thank them for their time. I might thank them at the end of the conversation, but in the beginning, nope. The other thing I won't do in an email when I'm trying to make a connection, I do not use the word just unless I'm intentionally minimizing myself. Just following up, just checking in, just hoping you're well, just floating this to the top of your inbox. All of it says, hey, I'm a salesperson. I just want to make my quota. So I get rid of that as well. And then the other thing I do not do is I do not ask them how they are or build in rapport or small talk in the beginning. I will show you, if you structure this correctly, how you can build that in for maximum conversions, but it's not at the beginning of the call. And the reason this sucks is because most of you, if you have any formal sales training, you were taught there's about a 2 to 4 minute window right here where you're supposed to ask them about something in their Zoom background, something relevant to them, or something you saw on LinkedIn, or the game, or the weather. Stop it. Or where they're from. My goodness, stop asking where they're from. If you do need a buffer zone in the initial call and it's on Zoom, here's the question I always ask. Hey, can you hear me okay? Still gives you that minutes, just like the how are you, but it doesn't create a sense of false rapport. So can you hear me okay? If I do need to add in a statement, I might say, I noticed you're from Seattle. I was just out there. What's the best restaurant next time I'm in town? Ask about what the best blank experience is in that city with some specificity. That'll get the how are you? Because sure, quick. Where are you from? Nashville. Oh, I've been there. Cool. Where are you from? Seattle. Oh, I've been there. All right. Hey, you want to get to the point of the meeting? Like, it's just a filler thing and you didn't buy that next 10 to 15 seconds. And psychologically, you're triggered into this cognitive bias. Okay. I will give the exact statement I use at my company, and then you guys can see how I did it, wordsmith it, and make it for yourself. So if you want voice memo on, feel free to put it on. It doesn't bother me anyway. Before that conversation, when in my initiate and prepare, does it make sense that I'm only in business because I solve about 3 problems for my customers? Doesn't matter how you structure it. All the company things that you guys are in business that you solve, this is why you don't have to ask for their problems anymore. Here's what I solve. Solve people who don't have any structure in their sales process, and they've got a bunch of bunnies, dogs, and tigers who don't know how to talk to the prospects in a way that doesn't feel scammy. And leadership is usually stuck in the sales seat. So if I know those are my problems, this is my intro line. Hey, Brian, yeah, happy we could get on the call today. By the way, I've only happened to got about half hour. In this half hour, here's my goal. I'm going to ask you 5 to 6 questions. Based on your answers, I'm just going to give you a bunch of advice. It's even up to you if we follow up or not. But if you've agreed to this call, chances are it's because you've got a bunch of employees that don't know how to persuade, you don't have systems or processes, and your executives are in the top sales seat. Is that the case for you? Cool. You comfortable if I just get straight to the point and I ask you that first question so we can leave enough time for the advice? Sure. All right, cool. Couple things to know. Regardless of what advice I give you, I'm not here to pitch you or sell you anything. I might recommend you work with one of my competitors even, because I have a split on that commission. I could just say, hey, it's not the time for you. I'll just send you some books on Amazon to read and that'll get you started on your journey. Or I'll show you specifically what I would do if it even made sense to work together and how you can do it yourself without even paying me. Let's get going. If, Eric, for you, I didn't mean to point that, sounds very negative. If you're losing a lot of business to do it yourself, part of your sales process needs to be teaching your client companies how to recruit on themselves. And you got to have a couple of golden nuggets in there that you know they're not going to get around to doing. And then your follow-up, for you guys all, create your own version of a heat map. Because all your follow-up is, hey, in Seattle, you said you're struggling to close qualified leads. Did you try the 3 things I taught you? Why or why not? Oh, we don't have the time or the manpower. Okay. Now it's another conversation, so they're in that pipeline. Yeah, did you have a question?
Just.
Oh, no problem. No problem, you're fine. I'm not eating, so it's all of the rest of them.
Oh, you're not eating?
No, ma'am.
Everybody have a place there?
Oh, I guess I do. I'm
Okay.
curious on a couple of things. One, that doesn't work for dating, it doesn't work for sale. However, just because it works at dating doesn't mean it works at sales.
Correct, Venn diagram it. Mhm.
Then I'm curious. Really. You know, we kind of kicked off a little bit of marketing, recruiting, a very similar sales and recruiting are similar. Do you see similarities with this conversation as well?
1000%. For the candidate and the client side. If you want, every couple of slides, my email address, just get 30 minutes on me with Zoom. By the way, I'll ask you 5 to 7 questions. And then my goal is just to give you the best advice I can on what I know about becoming a big biller, so that way you can either deploy in your company, not need to hire anyone, how to wait and structure it, or I'm actually partnered with other recruiting firms. I've got 3 different ones. I'll set you up with Laura or Lorna, one's out of South America and one's out of Dallas, Texas, and you can share best practices with them. I also have some recommendations on online trainings for recruiting that I swear by, and I actually print out and I save and I use to this day. So hop on a call. Again, you guys see how this is working? No pitch, no issues. I'm just going to give you the best tactics I have on recruiting and the pipeline.
Yeah, I don't understand, I don't see through that, if it's all you've been doing all day is pitching to us, if you're saying you're not selling to us, but you are.
I'm genuinely not. I give out more free consultations in Vistage than I do anywhere else. Guaranteed. And it just so happens that some of the people are like, okay, yeah, that was worth my time and energy. It's fascinating, isn't it? It's a tiny nuance, tiny nuance. But I think the difference is in the pricing model up front. So after we move from this into the mega connection phase and we deploy these strategies, the third thing that I can say, I said 5 to 7 questions and I'll give you my best advice. My best advice. You tell them what their problem is. One thing you gotta, that is loud, I get what you're saying. The Blue Angel's louder.
We're louder, yes.
It's wild, it's cool. We don't need that anymore. You tell them their problem, you gain clarification, just like we did on the heat maps. And then as fast as freaking possible, ask about the dream. If you've got the ability with your personality, bunnies do, just ask the question directly, so what's the dream? If your problem is that you've got executives in the front seat, if your problem is that your technical experts can't sell, if your problem is that you have no system and structure, what's the dream? And you guys can use that for however your own words are. Here's why this is important. When you start having dream conversations instead, I call it deliver the dream, you'll see this everywhere. When you have dream conversations, a phenomenon happens. And bunnies are best at this. The other person, the prospect, usually goes off on a tangent. Psychologically, if you start asking them about if you're selling to a business and you start asking them about their KPIs, or if they use any kind of scaling up methodology, or how many dream employees they would like to have, or if they don't want any employees and they just want to automatize the whole thing. If you just start having dream-like languaging, our brains chemically start to release a couple hormones, specifically oxytocin and dopamine. Anybody know what those hormones are?
Rack. Mavericks and captains and everything.
It's called bonding hormones or love hormones. Anybody ever been to dinner with somebody, like a friend, and that friend somehow got you to talk the entire freaking time? What happens when you drive home? You probably have a series of thoughts, but what is one of the thoughts you have when you drive home?
I like that friend.
I like that friend. It's usually the first one. Second one is an emotion that comes to mind. It starts with a G. Guilt. Guilt.
I should have asked this up.
Wow, revolutionary. Now watch where this goes. In a sales conversation, if your prospect goes off on a tangent, did anybody catch how long I said this call is? If your prospect goes off on a tangent, what happens? You don't have as much time for the advice left. And then what do they feel is that guilt? I should have asked about what they do. Many of you are looking at a database of clients that have ghosted you because you put too much pressure. You put your pitch right up in here, and then you ask for clarification. I'm saying you haven't even gotten into your pitch yet. You probably won't get into it till the second or third call, because statistically, if you spend the majority of the beginning of the conversation talking about the dream, there's actually a metric behind it. 68 to 72%. Hathaway analyzed 35,000 sales calls, and they found in the calls where the prospect had a second meeting or bought from that salesperson right away, it's because the prospect talked more than the customer. Salespeople everywhere have taken that into advantage, and they think that that means that the prospect needs to be talking about everything that's wrong, and you have to dig into it like that. I'm saying sales is flipped. If they start talking about their dreams, they will naturally go on a tangent. You'll get to that 68 to 72% talk ratio, and your timing gets to about 18 to 22 minutes. You said you had half hour. Same thing when you're driving home. I should have asked them about them. Your prospect is going to say, wow, I can't believe I've talked so much, which bunnies crush it at this because bunnies genuinely care about learning about the other person. You get to that point, and then your fourth column or the next step, watch the languaging on this. When you give them advice about how to accomplish their dreams, not solve their problem, how to accomplish their dreams, you have now inverted the power dynamic. And when you give your advice, you're literally walking them through every option they have. Because here's the thing, what are they going to tell you at the end? Oh, I got to talk to my leadership team. Fine, here's the things to talk to them about. So if I think I'm going to lose the sale because of talking to the leadership team, my advice is going to be, the way I see it, you've got a couple of good options for you. It could be something I'm interested in working with you on, but more importantly than that, I think you need to talk to your leadership team about all the other options you have. Because you could go with somebody else, you could wait, or you guys could even decide to do it yourself. Have you even thought about which one has a better appeal for you? So I'm telling them all the reasons they shouldn't go with me first. And at the end of that, now I can gain clarification, because if I've still got a shot in this and they start disqualifying, I know I'm going to book the next call. And that's when the sales cycle begins all over again. Going a little fast because of our timing. Second call might happen at this point. And they'll come back and they'll say, hey, we've talked to the leadership team. Here's some of the things we're seeing. It's just called concerns. I don't even call it objection handling because that's going to trigger a bias. And one by one by one. When you ask them about their concerns, if this sticks. If not, no, it's not going to last, that's fine. One by one, you can eliminate everything but logistics. You never want to put all your cards out front. You want to give your best advice out front, knowing they may not be able to implement it, but you want to save this card for last, because in the back of their minds, psychologically, they're still expecting you to ask for the sale or to close the sale or to use sales languaging. So once you go through the concerns, where it gets really fun is how you transition to an order through what I call a soft sell. Here's what it sounds like. All a soft sell is, if you think it even makes sense, are you comfortable if on the next conversation we just talk logistics? Whether you buy or not, at least you and your procurement team know what to expect. Notice the languaging, if you buy or not, regardless of what decision you make. If you go with the competitor, at least expect these logistics. And then you don't have to ask for the sale anymore. Because if you make sure that they understand how easy the logistics are, the sales takes care of itself. Now the question becomes, as my last gift to you all, and specifically bringing it back to Kyle, these are examples of those psychological drivers I mentioned earlier. So take a photo of this slide. These are, you'll get 52 more of them. I'll just send them to you guys in your email recaps. All this is are ways you can cushion some of the statements in that 6 steps. The one I like the most, anybody struggle with bringing up price in a conversation? Set up, probably not in this room. Okay, anybody whose team struggles with that? Okay, there we go. The one I like is, I bet you're a bit like me. Number 6 usually is great with price. I'll say, I bet you're a bit like me, and that talking price feels weird because I'm going to say a number and then you're going to say a number and we're going to try to figure out each other's number. We're not going to play that game. Are you in a good place to talk about price right now, or should we wait to talk to the leadership team? And then they're like, oh yeah, our budget's this. So I try to put the onus on me for that, because nobody likes bringing that conversation up. At least I haven't found too many people millennials or Gen Zers that are comfortable talking about price unless they've been in business for a while or they start their own company. The other one is, do I have any long-winded salespeople in here or technical experts? Usually when we get into the engineers, some of you guys are laughing. So yeah, when you get into that, just teaching them the word "oh" helps, and then telling them not to talk after that. So if you find that somebody's getting long-winded on the conversation. Anybody sell a weird niche product? Okay, so Kyle and Daryl, it's not every day you. So when I get on the phone with a prospect, I might even say, hey, it's not every day you reach out to learn about oyster farming. Had to make it up on the spot there. Just something like that to kind of cushion it and make it a lot more comfortable to have that conversation. For Austin, imagine if you probably throw that all throughout your sales process. Cool. Questions so far?
It's curious. I don't know if this is thoughtful, but there's the sales side, but I'm curious. The flip of it being the buyer, because we also are the buyer.
Yeah.
If you get pitched, I was curious about how that kind of looks like screening now.
I love that. I do the exact same thing. I want to always be in control of the conversation. So when you start off on your make a connection, that conversation, you're the salesperson booking the appointment, but I want to see if I even want to work with you. You're probably going to start off with whatever your intro pitch is. Do you want to do a live role practice of it real quick, just to test it for you?
For what it's worth, I don't need any sell.
That's fine.
Let's say a software company calls me and wants to switch me into their.
And you're trying to gain control over that software company in the initial call.
Cool.
Okay.
Really trying to understand whether or not I should continue this conversation. And
Cool.
I've been pitched shit and I've paid for shit and I'm tired of paying. for
So
shit.
I'm going to be Eric, you be the software company, and let's just,
Okay.
yep. So you call me, I don't care if it's a cold call or a pre-booked appointment. You call me, I'm going to be Eric, and I'm going to show you how to gain control of that call. So that way you can be in charge.
Online, I checked out your website and see you got some glitches and your certificates out of date. Just curious if you're currently working with a software or an IT company, or if you have someone controlling your website, we'd like to help you.
And you genuinely are evaluating if you want to work with them. Okay, so I would simply say, yeah, man, thanks for reaching out. We've got quite a few different tech issues on our company. Which part of solving the website does your company primarily focus on first?
We look to see if we should even click it. We noticed your certificate's out of date.
Trying to think of how we invert it. And then what are the issues? So help me real quick. What are the issues that you need solved in your tech right now? If I'm Eric,
Oh,
that's where I got.
well, I have an IT company. We're paying over 6 figures for IT. That's the problem. Concerns. Then the approach switching was just to get it from the. And I don't necessarily know how to screen all these. On many different platforms, I use this one as an example, but I'm like, holy crap, how do I respond to some of these guys? How do I know if they're genuine
Yeah.
and or not? And then how far do you dig kind of thing? I don't know, I'm just trying to get that.
Nope, that's what I needed.
Company, I can just go online, I can tell you all, but I'm trying to get sold shit.
Yeah. So I would just simply, when they call you and they say, you know, you've got that predetermined call, I just simply say, you know, I've talked to so many IT companies in my career, some of them great, some of them not so great. I know logistics are going to be the problem. And there's a bunch of concerns currently on my website. Based on what you've seen, if you worked for me, what would be your first 30, 60, 90 days? And I would do that initially on the first call. Okay, now how do you know that improving my SSL certificate even makes sense right now? Would there be other low-hanging fruit? How do I know if there's low-hanging fruit? What as an owner of this firm should I be looking at most? Which reports do you need? What KPIs do you usually track when you first get into it? So it's the exact same flow, but I'm asking them the exact, like, what's the dream? I know you want to sell me something, but here's what I need help with. Is there any other low-hanging fruit that you would see? What other issues are coming to mind? When you typically charge people, and I would get ahead of the budget, I'd say when you typically charge people, is it a flat fee or is there a percentage based on improvement? How flexible is your pricing structure? So I ask all those questions initially because then the salesperson can't gain control and then you're in control, which means that if you're in control, you have more negotiating power on the back end. So that's how I would structure it. Cool.
Well, it's very.
It's very aligned. It's very aligned. Yeah. Cool. All right. Close eyes. One more question for you all. All eyes closed, all eyes closed, all eyes closed. Did you guys get value out of today? Like, you're not gonna offend me. If not, I just want to make sure that I did a good job. Okay, so is there anyone in here? Okay, thank you. There was one person who didn't raise their hand. I was like, okay, troubleshoot that problem. Thanks, James. All right, so all that being said, you can open your eyes. Thank you. Yeah, no, I was just like, uh-oh. So here's where this goes. I am going to hook you up, and this is the difference, because Lisa, you said a really great statement, and I was like, took my brain a minute to process. I'm gonna send you guys a very comprehensive recap. Every group's different, so it takes me a minute to get the recaps out, because you guys want the different AI lead gen tools. You also want the psychological drivers, and there was something else I was gonna send you.
Well,
Slide deck, but abbreviated. without-
Yep, he wants the slide deck without some of the client info. Okay.
Those are probably AI tools.
Yeah.
Okay, was that the?
Yep, I'll send you the AI tools as well. So you're gonna get a very, very comprehensive email from me for whatever address you put in the PI. One more close eye poll, just real quick. Anybody want to be added to my newsletter? It's basically tactics like this all the time. Okay, so everybody, cool. All right, so I'll take the email addresses you gave me, I'll put it in my newsletter, and then I will send you a ton of value. I'm also gonna throw in 100 responses to objections. Just give it to your team. If you guys aren't personally using it, at least it'll help your team with the languaging behind things. Outside of that, you do have a survey for the Vistage feedback speaker survey. 5s are always helpful, like be honest with it. But that's how chairs book me. And my entire business is helping Vistage members. So if you think I deserve to be seen in front of other people, I'd be grateful. If you don't, rate me poorly and I will cry. So outside of all of that, is there any questions I can wrap up for you? If not, this has been really fun for me. This group's really cool. So thank you for having me again, Stephen.
Any questions?
Cool.
Okay, cool.
Let me get to
Thanks.
work.
Thank you.